Keenan, just a heads up, your camera is off again, but that may be on purpose.
Jeez.
Off again.
All right. I hope this isn't a problem going throughout this whole thing. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
No problem.
No problem.
Like a 2-minute countdown, so.
Never know if it's on purpose, and I don't want to be one of those people that's like, excuse me.
And if it's not up when we get on, just work with it until you get it.
This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty. Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
Greetings, and welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I am GriffinGamingRPG, and we're back. Today is March the 12th, 2023. And today we are back with an illustrious group of co-hosts. And of course, we have a special guest joining us today. Mr. SpaceTomato is going to be joining us. So since I said your name first, I'm going to say welcome back. How are you, buddy?
Hey. Good. I'm good to be glad to be here. How you doing?
We're doing okay, like everybody else. Either we're excited for 318 or we're waiting for 318. So it depends on which way your login worked, right?
Yeah, I have still not been able to get into the game.
Yeah,
so I've just been watching other people also not able to get into the game. Good times.
Yeah, it has been. People who have gotten in have been pretty happy, which is the thing I'm happy to hear about. So. Still some things going on, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Right next to you, I'm going to start off with our yoyoMeg is here. Meg, what's happening?
What's up? How y'all doing?
You doing good?
Doing good as well.
You got to monkey around in the verse a little bit, right? You got in.
I did. Yeah. Friday was probably the best day for me. Played from like 7 to 4 a.m. It was super great. Had a blast and looking forward to playing more.
Wow.
The update's great.
You were one of the lucky ones because a lot of folks, most people got in Saturday. A lot of people, I watched some people struggling Friday. I remember Captain Richard was literally getting ready to shut down because he had sat around all afternoon waiting,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
cool.
I think I was probably waiting like 2 hours. I definitely was still lucky, but yeah, I waited a long time too.
Okay, well, good. Glad you had a good experience with it. Next to me, I need you. Kelosal, what's happening?
Hey, Griff. Yep. This is an homage to today's show. But doing well. It's good to see you guys and great to be on for another episode of Soul Citizens. Let's get started.
Thank you for being here, man. And last but not least, AbdiYohan. Notice I said Abdi. I said I was making a mental note. No more Abdi, and did I say it right? Abdi?
You said it right. You made my ancestors proud.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, hey, it's me, AbdiYohan. Happy to be here. I was actually able to play with yoyoMeg over the weekend, so I was on her stream. She's an amazing streamer. Make sure to follow her.
Yes.
If yoyoMeg, you gotta put your at in the chat. But
Drop
we
it in the
played
chat.
on at in the chat. So yeah, I played on Friday and it was smooth as butter. We did some salvaging, did some shenanigans, and then we got back in the verse again on Friday, and then on Saturday we got back in. And Saturday was like the polar opposite. It was it was you know, they're having some hiccups.
Yeah.
They're working through it, you know, and that's all good. So
That's good.
yeah, been a fun time.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good experience with it. Well, listen, we want to say welcome to everybody who's here today. We know that 318's out there, and many of you are still pounding on that start button and that launch button trying to get in. Maybe you're just watching this while you're trying to get into the game, or maybe you're already in the game. Maybe you've been in the game already, but thank you guys for being here tonight. Tonight's show has an interesting title called Enough Already, and we're taking a little spin on that phrase. And the question, and it's actually just what you see on the screen. We're asking a question: when is it enough? And yeah, when are you going to be all ready? When are you ready? We're going to talk about this. I know we've done shows on logistics in the past, but we kind of wanted to focus on this from a little bit different position. Before the logistics was talking about, well, what happens if you want to take a whole E out? Oh wow, Todd Fox, thank you so much for that raid. We're just getting started. Thank you, Todd. We appreciate that. You all make sure you all check out Todd Fox. Todd Fox, thank you with your party of 4 helping us out. We love it. And thank you to Vengeful. Thank you for that sub, Vengeful. I don't know why our thing didn't go out for the sub, but thank you for that sub, Vengeful.
Because Whammer's taking a break.
Yeah, well, Whammer's here. Yeah, Whammer's here, you know. So
the classic.
Yeah, Whammer's there.
It's always Halloween when Whammer's out.
Absolutely. So we did this before. We talked about logistics. We talked about like, hey, you know, taking escorts with this or things of that nature. But this time we're going to be talking about what happens inside of your ship versus what happens outside of your ship. And obviously we've got some folks with different backgrounds here. Valscore, thank you for that sub. Thank you. We're going to be kind of hitting this from the position of what do you need to do to prepare to go out, whether it's short term, midterm, long term. And everybody here plays differently that's on the panel today. So I'm sure everybody's going to have different thoughts about how they get ready, how they get themselves ready to go out into the verse. So that's going to be kind of the whole talking point theme of today. But before we kick off on some of that, we're going to put some things for you to think about, things to consider. Maybe you've already considered them. Maybe you haven't. Let me turn that off because that's up too soon. And I want you to consider these particular questions that we're going to put up about being enough and being all ready. All right. And some of the things, I'm going to put these out here and I'm just going to let the panel respond to them. Personnel. That should be personnel, not personal. No, it should be person. Yes. No, I'm sorry. It's supposed to be personal. It's not supposed to be personnel, not people, but your personal capacity, what you yourself can carry and bring. What can your ship carry? What can your vehicle carry? How much capacity do you have for that? Thracazogs. Thank you, Thracazogs. Oh, and gave it to SpaceTomato. That means SpaceTomato can come back now. Thank you. That's great. All right. What is the capacity of yourself, your personal inventory, your ship's inventory, any vehicles you ride in? We want you to think about gravity and weight. CIG has told us that gravity and weight are going to be a factor. When you are leaving some planets, you may have much more difficulty getting out of atmosphere than others, orbitals, whatever the case may be. And weight becomes the factor as well. You know, when you start burdening down your ship, a fully loaded caterpillar may respond differently than one that is half loaded or even empty. Support. When it comes down to preparing to go out into space, will you be using friends? Will there be people from your org? Will you hire other players? Will you be using NPCs? You will need those things in order to get ready to go out into space. And then lastly, wow, Boom Boom Bangs. Thank you so much for that sub as well. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for the subscription.
And thank you, Whammer. Okay. So in time, All of these things take time. We know right now when we play the game, just going to the kiosk takes time. For many of us, we load up our ships from the kiosk. Some of us wait till we get to the hangar and we move things out of our local folder into our ships. There's all types of ways, but it still takes time. Okay, so let me talk to Tomato, since you're our guest today. Any thoughts on any of these topics that you give consideration to, what we do now versus what's going to happen maybe later?
Well, I certainly am terrible at preparing to go out in the game right now. Like you were saying that we all play the game a little differently. I barely actually play the game. Like I jump in to try it, but I don't ever I don't play it like a normal game, you know? Like I don't get into a session and get all my stuff together and then go out and do things. I kind of just go out and do things and then realize that I've forgotten something. So that's part of my 318 goal, is to just start playing this as a natural game experience. And I think that's going to lead to me changing the way I play a lot. I actually last year started a death counter on my stream in order to get myself to start to pay attention to how much I was dying. So this year, my goal is to kind of pay attention to what I'm actually doing when I play.
Okay.
Because I'm like you said, I think it's going to change a lot now from in the future. Like one of the newest things that I think they have coming up is lockers. And lockers is an answer that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, because a lot of times when you hear people get back into the game, they're like, I don't like getting set up for another mission every time, clicking and dragging all the stuff into inventory. And lockers give us the ability to just go find a single item, click on it, and it gets our whole outfit done. And I think that's going to probably change the way I prepare for missions now.
Okay. Abdi, I'm gonna go to you next. Any thoughts on that? Any of those categories?
Yeah, so I am a type B personality. I don't really look out into the future, but I have the benefit of I'm going to be a wife guy right now. I'm so sorry. But my wife is definitely a type A personality. I never used a calendar until I met her. So now I use a calendar. I use a grocery shopping list. I literally just got back from grocery shopping 30 minutes ago. And so yeah, I'm the kind of person now. I've been converted. I've seen the light. I'm the kind of person to make a list. I find that it helps so that you can just kind of turn off your brain, go by the list, look for the things that you need, get those things, and then you're all set to go. And to that point, I've created a shopping list for Star Citizen. It's like an Excel document, basically, that my wife helped me create, because she's an Excel person and I'm not. Again, I'm the creative type. I'm a graphic designer. She's like the math, like Excel spreadsheet person. But I prettied up an Excel document and I put everything from the Space Coders app called the Armory. So I use that. Yep, it's a really good app. So I use that, and I use Urkel, and I made a shopping list for both my personal stuff, for my ship, all that stuff. And yeah, if anybody wants to use it, it's a shareable Excel document that you can share if you want. So I can put that in the chat at some point.
Please do.
Yeah,
please do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me now. Now I make the shopping list. I know where I need to go to get everything I want. I get all that stuff, and then I'm set to play.
Okay. Megan, jump to you. Any of those in considerations for you?
Yeah, so I think I'm looking forward to how I'll change what I do now. What I do now is basically just either get an undersuit and a helmet, or just go straight naked into places, and like loot up as I go. But sometimes I do, like, depends. Like if I'm with a bunch of people, we usually start off by gearing up a certain like ship. Like if we take something like an MSR, we'll go down to the planet surface and get like a Cyclone or an Ursa rover. We'll get all of our own equipment ready. Like we don't, we basically get loot for ourselves and worry less about keeping stuff for other people. So that's one thing I feel like I could do better moving forward, is like bringing extra supplies, like medicine, multi-tools, med guns, the new like salvaging attachments to the multi-tools, even like I forget what they're called, but they're like the canisters where you can actually like, you put the salvage goes into those canisters when you use the multi-tool now.
RMC ones,
yeah, so there's stuff like that. So like things are definitely changing. There's like they're adding stuff to the game where like there's new stuff that you need to remember or look out for whenever you're looting. But yeah, I pretty much just free ball it normally.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes we do set up, and it's pretty fun whenever you can get like a good group of people together. And like right now, like we were trying to run the salvaging game loop, get like 3 vultures, a bigger ship that can carry the boxes that come out. So like have like 3 people actually salvaging, have 1 person taking the salvage to like the ship that's gonna go carry it off, and then maybe eventually have some people running protection. Just getting I think getting people together is going to be the hardest part, but yeah. I don't know what else. Gravity and weight. Honestly, gravity and weight I don't really think about.
It ain't there yet. It ain't there yet, to that level, but it's coming.
Yeah.
It's there a little bit. It's there a little bit, but
yeah, I'll give you an example a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll pass it off to you, Kelosal.
Well, thanks, Yo-Yo. I mean, and I'll speak upon that gravity and weight thing because that happened to me just recently in under the 317 patch. There, you know me, Griff. I like going in there and looking for the small things that people don't pay attention to. When we go in there. So there are a couple ships that I like to drive personally. First of all, as far as hanging out with people, I like to hang out with people that we all have a common interest, that even when we do argue with each other, it's not a real argument. And if it is a real argument, you have an understanding and you're still brothers and sisters at the end of it. Those are the type of people that I love hanging around because you always have a good time with. So personally, I love, I'm a huge explorer, so I love my Carrack. Obviously I would have to feel the Carrack accordingly. I try to treat the Carrack like like John Luke would with his Enterprise. It's a ship that can go out for a long time. It's an expedition. It's an exploration ship. Something that you don't have to just worry about going and planet side every day or every week or every month. You can just go out to space and just chill out there. And because we haven't had persistent entity streaming for a while, that's always been deleted. That effort has always been deleted with a new patch or things like that, right? But now that you have this coming in, the excitement is, will I be able to go ahead and live that life on a Carrack in space instead of having to land every time to go ahead and get things? So those are the things that I think about when I try to load my ship. Give me I don't load with a weapon or two. I'm fine with Griff's idea of a pistol. I'm fine with getting a couple of commodities, couple of foods, med pins. I don't worry about the oxygen pins yet. Not really significant yet. Vehicle capacity, of course, I try to throw in a little mining vessel in there or two. Gravity and weight, I'll give you a good example of how they're in the game a little bit. If you get a hull A and you load your hull A on both sides, okay, now you can go ahead with the new cargo refactoring. You can go ahead and literally pull the cargoes off from, let's say, a starboard side. I mean, a port side. When you pull one of the cargoes off, or 2 of the cargo containers off of a fully loaded hull A, the imbalance comes in and it tilts over to the right. It tilts over to the right. So there is a sense of weight and gravity, and that's on planet side, by the way.
Right.
So so there's a sense of that in game. It's been in there since 317.5, I believe. And a lot of people haven't tried that bit. So that's exciting to see that type of imbalance being put in the game. So those are the small things that I look for to check and see on there. Yeah. But support and time. My time is precious to me, but at the end of the day, I like to explore and let other people find out other things, and then I go ahead and do the other things that a lot of people are not paying attention to. So I intend on staying out in space a lot and exploring the things that a lot of people may look past lore. I'm a huge lore guy. Anything dealing with lore, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't mean to imply, and I actually said it, I didn't mean to say that weight and gravity aren't in. I guess what I was trying to say is that weight and gravity are not the way CIG wants them to be yet, because they've talked about the fact that the planets and stuff, everybody's going to have different weight, different gravity levels, all types of stuff's going to have dynamic weathers. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to be impacting ships when they're trying to leave a moon or a planetary body. Let me throw this at you. Has anybody thought about the fact, because I want to go with Yo-Yo said, because Yo-Yo's kind of our new player, and she didn't suffer through the pains of walking through a station and hitting an air pocket where there was no oxygen. So walking around with no clothes on was a thing you could not do. Now you could do that, but you could not walk around without the clothes on. So have you all given consideration to the day when the general inventory disappears.
Can't wait for it.
For those of you who don't understand what I'm saying in chat, I'm saying there is going to come a time where you won't hit I and get this huge inventory space, or even when you go on your ship, that you're just going to see local. I think Tomato talked about it. You're going to have to go to that locker. You're going to have to go to that drawer. You're going to have to go to certain places in the ship to store or remove things. And I'm not sure everybody knows that. I think people are used to that general inventory thing. But when you have your hab, that's where things are going to go. Once you have a place to live, that's where things are going to go. They'll probably, whether they get rid of it or whether they just reduce it down to a much more smaller size. What do you guys think will happen? Do you think they'll just reduce it instead of having 100,000 SCU? It might only be like 5,000, or do you think they're just going to get rid of it completely and you're going to have to use those drawers, boxes, storage bins, tables, desks, refrigerators? Because right now you carry all that stuff on you. Anybody?
I think we better. You go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to ask a question. So does that mean, I'm like absolutely blanking on what I was going to ask now.
I'll give you an example. You know how you're familiar with the C2, right, Meg?
Yeah.
Okay. When you come up the elevator on the C2 on the second floor, those right in front of you are storage lockers, right? And you can open those up, and technically you're supposed to be able to put stuff in those. But right now, what people do is just hit, they go to their inventory, and they got their personal inventory or that ship inventory, right? And my question is, one day that ship inventory is going to go poof, it's going to be gone. You have to use the physicalized areas in the ship for anything that you want to do on there. Anybody got any thoughts?
This is a good conversation for Go Mob.
Yeah.
We're gonna see how deep.
I want to say I look forward to that day, because that's the day, hopefully, when they apply that, that's the day when hopefully things are stable enough that we're not randomly losing our ship to things that would completely destroy it for no reason. I'm looking forward to it, because that means that things will be smooth enough for us to be able to have our little stashes and places. You think about maybe like that like gun container. I think that's on the C2, where there's like a weapon container next to the pilot seat. Is that true?
Oh yeah, there's one for pistols down there. That's but it works.
There, yeah.
It's there. It works.
And it's like, like you never know when someone's gonna jump you, and then you're gonna need to pull that pistol out and have it right there, instead of just being able to get out of your seat and this or that. So I'm looking forward to that gameplay. I think it's gonna make things a little more, some might call it tedious.
Yeah.
But I think that we all need to kind of get into our heads that that's kind of what this is a universe sim, a space sim. And in that regard, all the little gamified things like pressing I or easy to do things are going to kind of, the idea is stripping those back. So that's kind of the name of the game.
Yep. But CEO, to answer your question, yes, those C2 lockers are operational right now. And again, that's why I used it as an example. So I'm curious and I think, Tomato, you talked about lockers becoming implemented in the game. Right now, some people may look at it as a role play thing, right? Of like using the refrigerator, right? Or in the seat, like Meg, I saw you tricked out your C8R rescue, which was really cool. You listen. Y'all don't know. Meg went and got one of the beds, the cots, and pushed that sucker onto that C8. It was so cool, okay? She tricked that bad fella out, right? That gurney was in there, okay? And it fit. That was really funny.
It's a proper ambulance.
Yeah, but behind there's those drawers down there with the meds and stuff like that. I mean, those are going to be literally the places you go, not this invisible inventory that you just open up. So just something for us to think about. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that one of the big things people were excited for when the Corsair came in, was that it was stocked with actual No, that was the C8R.
It was
right?
The C8R.
When it came in, it was stocked with the actual
you're talking about the Redeemer.
Yeah, the Redeemer they got excited about too, because the refrigerator Redeemer worked too.
Did it come with stuff in it?
Yes, it came with stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm constantly wondering, because I think it's a really major change. Like that's going to take everything that we got with 315 that kind of flipped people's expectations on its head. Yeah. Right. Because a lot of people were like not really caring so much for the disconnection of planets from space stations and the idea that we had different inventories for ships and stuff. This is going to be a whole different level of that, right? Like now it's not even just that you don't have the stuff that's on a different planet. You don't have the stuff that's in the city with you.
Yes.
And I keep wondering, like, how far are they going to go with that? How fast? Are they going to immediately say that everything is physicalized? Are we still going to have some form of inventory interface to work with? Or like, how's that going to go? Because that's definitely going to change the way that I prepare for the game and prepare to play and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Even in addition to what SpaceTomato is saying, the other part.
Thank you, Chooch.
Oh, way to go, Chooch. I mean, the other part
for the subscription.
the other part that what was that? Who was that from Chooch's World? Great, excellent. Remember in Atlas, when Atlas first came out, there was no administrative procedure dealing with the inventories. When Atlas first came out, so a lot of people was just digging their hands into the inventory and taking everything.
Oh, you're taking everything,
and taking everything, and everything you put in there was gone in less than a couple of seconds. So I mean, we still haven't seen that yet. Are they going to put an administrative process in there where
who has access to your stuff?
Who has access?
Mm-hmm.
If that's not going to be the case, are they going to have a locker where the administrator is going to have their stuff and nobody gets in there unless they have a code,
right?
You know, one of those key codes to get in there to go ahead and pull stuff out. If they're going to make it a universal locker, are they going to make a universal locker to where you, once you jump in, whatever you see, you can take? I mean, how are they going to do that piece? That's the other part.
I'm going to tell you how they're going to do that piece. Tomato, one time I brought these you-know-whats on my ship, and the first thing they want to do is go to the kitchen and start taking stuff out the fridge. So that's going to be the first place I'm locking down right there. Because folks come on your ship talking about what you got to eat. You know what I mean?
You got to eat before you're spacebound. They say it takes 2 hours. 2 hours to get started in a game session in Star Citizen. You need like an hour and a half of that just to get the food together.
There you go.
Let them take your food. Let them take your food. Just make sure you got your hand on the ejection button when they're sitting in the co-pilot seat. You know, and just launch them out.
Make sure they're not holding it though.
Okay, so our first.
Set it down for a second.
This leads us into our first topic, and the reason why this is first is because this is important. We still don't know what the balancing is going to be like for food right now. It's not irritating right now. You know, it doesn't drive us crazy. It's not like a survival game, but we know that food buffs, drink buffs are going to be important for us playing the game. We don't know about buffs in the sense of where they'll go beyond nutritional buffs right now, but we do know that CIG is going to make food meaningful. And so one of my questions is going to be to you guys, how do we deal with this, especially when it comes to how much you can only carry so much stuff on you, right? You can only put so much stuff even on your ship. I'm going back to you, Tomato. If you go out with people, are you going to feel responsible to make sure that this particular stuff is on your ship, or are you going to require your people make sure they bring their own maybe health bars? I mean, you know, if it's short run stuff, no big deal, right? But if you're out there for a while and then somebody's telling you in the middle of a mission, hey, I need some water, or I don't have anything to eat, that might be an issue. So how are you looking to kind of handle that on your ship?
I personally am going to be running a pretty straightforward crew scenario where I think if I'm the person who owns the ship, I should have it equipped. And that kind of stuff should be in consideration when it comes to paying for that ship. Now, I think that's like one of the major questions going forward is what's the meta going to be? You know, it could be the case that everybody does it differently, or it could be generally accepted in the community that if you're inviting people on your ship, you've got them covered, you know, just in real life. If you're taking somebody on a road trip, like it's kind of expected that, at least in my opinion, you're going to provide for them unless otherwise specified. If you're inviting them out there. But like, if we're taking missions in Star Citizen in the future, and you've got like a mission that's sending you out for 3 hours in the verse, you really got to think about the fact that your people on the ship are going to die if you don't bring food, and you don't want to be out there in the middle of space, in the middle of a mission, not having anything available for them. So I think it's going to be a big part of the process, making sure to get food together, making sure to get water together. I'm just not sure how I feel about dying from not having food. I kind of get water, but with food, I would be much more confident in it if it was just for buffs, you know?
Yeah. I'm hoping that food becomes more of a, you know, not stamina related, but, you know, maybe when you get down to, you know, 20%, you get like a yellow warning. You get down to 10%, you get a red warning, and then you possibly could pass out. And then after that, after a period of time, if we don't take you to a hospital or heal you up or do something, then maybe you could die. But again, they haven't evolved that whole process of nutrition and food completely.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything they want to add in relation to food or food buffs or drink buffs?
Well, shameless plug. I did put in a link, Griff, into the chat of episode 111 of our episode that we did with indigestion, dealing with foods and stuff like that. So if you guys want to look at that, that was a great series that Griff put in place. When me, Griff, BBG were talking about the different types of foods. You're going to need some foods. I suggest everybody go to Microtech and go to the nice little health food store and get those protein shakes. You know, if you're going to go ahead and stock up some food on, because, it's just today, they kind of went a little bit severe today with drinks. I was always down to 36% within 30 minutes, 30 or 40 minutes. So there's a little bit of a tweak that possibly is in the game right now, but it's essential that you bring in these types of foods, especially if you're running around in an exploration ship, a 315P, like, for example, you got a little refrigerator in the back. Go ahead and put some items up in there just in case if you get hungry or thirsty.
Let me say something about something you just said, and Abdi, Yo, maybe one of you guys want to comment on this, because Kelosal said if you're running around on 315, a lot of people don't know that if you're running around, that impacts you with food and thirst right now in the game. And a lot of times people are running all the time, and then they're saying, oh, I can't believe I'm thirsty. They haven't put together the fact that your movement does impact the nutrition in the game even now. May not be balanced, but it does. Just so if you guys don't know that, and you're wondering why am I always seem like I got to get something to drink all the time or eat, your activity in the game does show up based upon, it does reflect on your nutrition.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to bring up an idea. I mean, like, if y'all have seen the movie Tank Girl or the comic Tank Girl, where it's a post-apocalyptic future, water's scarce, things like that. We're not in a post-apocalyptic future, but we are in a future where not every place is human colonized, basically. So there are going to be times when you're going out to places and there really isn't food or water that's safe to drink and things like that. And we think right now of like, ooh, I'm going to take that NPC's like gun or something like that. But in the future, we might be thinking more like, I need to kill somebody so that I can steal what they have on them and just get like some water to get me to the next bunker or something like that. This could be something that ends up being a little bit more survivalist instead of what it is right now, which is like, hey, I'm gonna make a joke like I need my triple berry fizz or something like that. like Megan, I saw me laugh about that because we were talking about that the other night. Where like right now it's a joke, but like in the future it might be like live or die kind of thing, where it's like, I see a character out there. I don't even know if they're a bad person or a good person. All I know is that my thirst is in the red. So I'm gonna take them out, and I'm gonna, like there might be considerations like that in the future. So
we once did a rated Orison. The guy wanted to come up to the where the platforms were and stuff. Remember that, Kelosal? We all drew our guns on him, and we said. You got to give us a double dog, and the guy yanked one out of his pocket and gave it to us, and we let him go in. All right, so there you go. You negotiated with food.
That's our good friend, the Sith incarnate Nihilus. Nihilus asked him to pull out something, and he pulled out a double dog,
and we let him come in.
Might have been me. I always keep a double dog on me.
You always keep one on you. Okay. Did you have anything, Meg? You want me to go on to the next one about food?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would have to add is a question really. I wonder how they're going to tweak the loot boxes, because right now there's so many red ones everywhere, and I find so an absurd amount of liquids and foods, probably more liquids than I find foods. But like, I do wonder how they're going to tweak that, because I know they've tweaked it, I think around 3.17 or something, maybe the update before that. I know it was more like weapons, attachments than it was like food and water. And now in like 3.17, I think it was like med guns, multi-tools, food, water. So I wonder how they're going to tweak it, if they do keep tweaking it, or if it's going to be like less.
I was going to tell you, what the tweak might be? None of them. Seriously. Yeah. Because as we get lockers and stuff, they're going to probably start implementing them in those buildings. And the other factor is a lot of that is just for our testing purposes. You know what I mean? Gotcha. It's just to give us something to go down there, do activity and everything else. But again, that's why we're kind of talking about how we do it today. and then what, later on, could happen in the game. So you're absolutely right. It's something to think about, that those items that are so plentiful now, later it could change drastically.
I can't imagine having to like actually go back to the port or to the planet side and like actually have to buy this stuff and like not rely on bunkers or places like that to loot those things.
Well,
so,
you know what? Abdi said something that I think leads to what you're looking for. When you go down to one of the bases, right, outposts, there's like 4 or 5 buildings down there, right? The reality is the building where I call up vehicles is not where I'm going to find water. You know what I mean? I'm not going to find it in the administrative building, but I may find it in the habitation building. That might be the clue for where I need to go. Versus if I go to the room that has all the computers and all the other stuff, maybe there are technical items in there I look for. But right now, like you said, everything's just kind of scattered, all over the place.
So that's what I was about to say, Griff, because I've noticed that whenever you go to a specific type of building, it could be a habitat, it could be a storage ring, it could be a security outpost or a security facility. Whenever you go into a specific type of building, I've noticed that in those boxes are items that are specifically geared to whatever type of building you're in. For example, if you go into a habitat, you're going to see a lot of food, a lot of drink, a lot of water. If you go into a mining facility, you may see a multi-tool or things like that. And if you get into the security facility, you see a lot of guns, a lot of ammo. So that may be in place right now, and obviously they may scale that back to make it a little bit I don't really try to shy away from the words of specialist type weapons or legendaries. I know they're shying away from that type of terminology and calling it something else.
Right. But rare items are a little bit more rare that you don't find those so plentiful throughout the verse. That's a good point.
And one illustration of this can be found if y'all go to yoyoMeg's Twitch. The other day, she found a person that was actually baking a stash in the trash cans at Orison. Like they were buying stuff and putting stuff in places where they thought people wouldn't look for it because they knew it would persist. So we're talking about stuff that you can find that the game is putting in the world. There might be things that people are like, burying their stashes here or there, kind of like Last of Us and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's something that we need to look out in for the future too. Like not just what the game puts out there for us, but the things that we're putting out there and the things that other people are putting out there.
Okay. All right, let's move to this next one, survival. Everybody's familiar with undersuits. And as we've talked about this before on the show as well, that there's a variety of different undersuits. Undersuits do provide a certain level of protection. It's very low, but there is a level of protection that comes from them. But beyond that, we will talk about some other types of suits. And I'm putting this in the category of suits because that's how they're described according to CIG. And one of them, the first one, is the Pembroke. It's considered an exploration suit. As you guys already know, or most of you know, it's really for heat protection. And the temperatures goes from -75 to 225 Celsius. What was interesting is that these suits all also have different capacities, which surprised me. So 8,000 SCU on this one. Have you guys ever used this one, the Pembroke, or you just don't really worry about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Used it. Yep.
All right. After the Pembroke, we've got
they changed the design on that one quite a bit, right?
Yeah, they have. Yep, they have.
Yeah, it looks like way more. There's a lot more fidelity.
yeah, absolutely. We have the Novikov, the cold suit, exploration suit. This one goes. It's interesting. All they did was flip the numbers on these. One goes to 225 plus. This one goes to -225 up to 75 degrees Celsius. But it also has a much larger capacity. You guys know this is the one that has the little dongle backpack underneath the backpack. The little circular one is on the Novikov, and that's for cold. How about this one? Have you guys used this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've used this one. It's the next one that is new to me.
I hope that I don't think they ever talked about why these are like on a different system where they're just, are these still sort of just undersuits that you equip, or did they move this to armor?
They list them as in the description. They call them armor and suits, which is really weird because
it's one whole suit.
What they do is these give you protection for damage, like from whatever the thing, like in other words, heat or cold. So they have a plus 40. They have a plus 40 to heat, plus 40 to cold on them. I don't know how they do against weapons, combat stuff. I don't know, but I'm assuming.
I just hope.
What?
No, please.
No, you got it.
I just hope that they change it to the armor system because few years back, they kind of introduced us the idea of like mixing and matching armors and how they have different temperature resistances and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to see this able to be used in the same way that the arm, leg, and core armor is for other suits.
Yeah. You know what?
I wonder if it's because they want to put in a special consideration for the way that these things lock to each other.
Well, I was going to
And,
ask.
like it,
I was going to ask you. Mind you, these are not modular. All there is that full suit and the helmet. And mind you, the plus. Somebody can check to see if that plus 40 is to damage. See, they say
that
that their
helmet doesn't
environmental
even work
suits
with
not.
anything else, too.
Yeah, they don't. That's what I'm saying. They only go to this suit, but it says plus 40 to damage, but it could be physical damage, ballistic damage, energy damage, or whatever. But there's plus 40 across the board on these, on all three of these suits, in fact. So that's a good point, Tomato. And of course, the Zeus. And by the way, interesting with the Zeus has actually designations for each of the three different Zeus suits, which I didn't know. I love that Zeus suit. It's the gray
Zeus
one,
suit, right?
Yeah, the gray one
Send
is
out the big boy.
Yeah, the gray one is supposed to be for Pioneer. The orange one is designed for test pilots, and then the black one designates engineers. Now, I don't know if there's any significance other than just the fact that they designated for those type of roles. But again, this suit splits it down the middle as far as protection. Minus 150 for cold, plus 175 Celsius for heat, and it holds 8,000 SCU. By the way, the Novikov notice has much bigger capacity for things that can be carried in it in the cold. I'm not sure what the method to the madness is behind that, why they give that such a great advantage. Because
Extra hot chocolate.
Is that what it is? Oh, that's extra cold ice pops, because that one's got the cold ones, the one's got the bigger package, so I don't know. But
I was going to say I don't have this suit, but I think I actually do because it was a subscriber promotion.
Yeah.
One of them for a subscriber. Yeah, one of them are. I mean, these suits are going to be interesting, Griff. I mean, when there's a couple of planets right now in the Stanton system where these suits are necessary, but not all the time because of the day and night cycles, right? I mean, Daymar can be really, really hot in the day, very cold at night. You can go over to go to Hurston area and visit either Aberdeen or Ariel, and because of the atmosphere in those planets, at one point was hot until they scaled it back down. Even when Microtech came out, Microtech was very, very cold at one point. So imagine when Pyro comes out.
Yeah,
you're going to need one of these suits because the system is so chaotic and so temperate over there. I won't say temperate, that's lack of a better word. So hot over there that you're going to need a Pembroke to even help you even live in certain planets or parts of that area. So it's going to be interesting to see how these things are going to be more and more utilized when that comes out and these other systems come out.
There are elements that CIG has introduced too, such as radiation. They talked about that being a factor. Do you think they'll be adding those type of things to this type of suit? And again, it's one thing to say I'm going to buy one of these suits, but when it comes to the economy, right? These are the things that are going to generate why you have to make money, not just to buy guns for your ship, but you may have to buy 8 of these suits. If you're talking about trying to have a suit on each of your ships, or, maybe 2 per ship for you and a comrade. I mean, what do you think? It's going to get expensive.
This is a whole gameplay loop, man. This is the logistics officer, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of logistics, right? It's part of the things that you got, as you mentioned earlier, you got to put on your checklist for what you need. And how many of them do you need? I don't know how many of you guys, do you guys buy multiples of things when you guys go out, or do you just buy the one? I know Yo-Yo said, she just needs some underwear and she's good to go. But, I mean, what do you guys do?
Whenever I'm getting like kitted and I go to the store, I usually get like 3 or 4 of like each item. That way, just in case I do die, I can quickly just equip instead of having to go back to the store to get another backpack or something. I do that, run naked and stuff like that. But there are stuff like we've had the episode where we talk about what we like to look like in the verse, like when it comes to armor and just normal clothes. So there are things I like to wear because they look cool to me.
Right.
So I do buy stuff, and I usually get a bunch. And by a bunch, like probably no more than like 5 of a set, just because I should have like more stuff to choose from. But yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I buy 6 of everything, not everything. But I buy, there's a certain armor I buy. There's 2 armors I buy. The Arctic and the, I forget what the other one's called now, but there's 2 armors I buy of everything. I buy 6 of those. I buy 6 flight suits. There's 2 sets of those I buy. And then I buy weapons. I buy 6 of those. And by the time I buy everything that with the money that I have spent $250,000. And that's not me buying like a ton of stuff. So I'm saying this because I'm not sure if people are thinking about this from an economy standpoint later on when the game starts. We're so used to spending $250,000 and don't even think about it. But later on, you may only be able to afford to buy 5 suits, 4 suits.
So that Google Doc that I shared with you, it has considerations for if you're only getting one of everything. But then I also have considerations if I'm getting it in the amount that I like, which is times 10. So for my, like, if I'm doing just my normal flight suit, times 10, and if it's my armor loadout, I have it so that it's multiplied by 5, so that I know how much it costs if I'm just going to buy all of it in sets of 5, so I can put it on, you know, my various ships in various places. So I'm definitely the type of person that's thinking about like sets of things, because there are sets of places that you want to have it.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever works. See, there's a difference between frugal and cheap, folks. I'm frugal. Okay. so with that being the case, you know, Griff, I play around as if, you know, in any other game, I'm always a wizard, I'm always a warlock, I'm always, you know, things like that. And what do they usually wear? Specialty outfits? It's usually always light outfits, right? Yeah, so I'm always running around in light outfits. And if I get a heavy armor, it'll be a purple arm piece and a black leg piece and a red helmet. I really don't care. You know, a lot of the times I'll probably have one of these stored up in the suit lockers, which I'm still waiting for CIG to go ahead and have us implement, so we can put at least a suit up in there so you can see it visually and you can take it out. I'm waiting for that physical part of the gameplay to come in, but I'll probably have one.
Space, did they talk about that recently in one of the monthly updates, that they were talking about lockers or having a loadout or something like that? I was watching one of your videos and I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, that was in the video I put out like today. They just for the first time mentioned that in terms of inventory. 2 different interesting things. One was being able to like click into a locker and just get your full set, and then the other one was reloading from your backpack, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so they're thinking about it.
Yeah. All right, we move on to health. Kelosal, you alluded to these earlier. You know, right now people don't give much consideration to many of these items that are listed, but most of you guys know about the Cure Life pins, the med pins that we've been using for quite a while. You guys also know about the medical device, the Paramed medical device. And then there's also just general medical supplies. Some of you, I know Kelosal, you mentioned about the Carrack. Some ships have full medical bays in them. Some of the ships that we don't even have in the game have full medical bays. The Endeavor has a full hospital in it. What are you guys' thoughts in relation to this stuff? Is this going to be something, again, that you're expecting your people to have? Are you going to have it? If you have the facility, obviously you're thinking about, if I've got a facility on my Carrack, I'm definitely going to stock it up. But what if you've got a ship that doesn't have a medical area on it? Are you going to require, maybe if you're going to provide food, you know, y'all got to buy y'all bullets and you got to bring your own medicine? I mean, how are you all thinking about that?
Yeah,
I like going by the whole alien thing. So like if somebody starts like having a xenomorph popping out of their chest, just throw them up on the kitchen table. I think that's fine.
Carrick's got a good table for that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just feel like I just expect everyone to like have their own stuff. And maybe that's a flaw, but like I just expect everyone to like have a med gun, a multi-tool, some med pens, and I'll definitely carry extra. So like if anyone ever needs it, I can give it to them. But stock wise, I usually carry or try to get like if your ship doesn't have what's the word I'm looking for? Like inventory where everyone can access it at the same time. I usually try to get like a 1 SCU box or like a bigger box. And then we just really pull in whatever we find or whatever we want to bring. Like backpacks and stuff like that. But yeah, me personally, I just expect everyone to be good on their own. And if they need anything, I can give it to them. But yeah.
We have a friend, Archie Falcon. He role plays doing medical rescue. And one of the things he does is get the big 1 SCU box. He sets it up in the back of his Cuddy Red. He puts a bunch of stuff in there for folks. And, you know, just in case people say, oh, I don't have this. Oh, check the box. There should be some in there kind of thing, you know, which is cool, you know.
Can I make a plea?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, CIG and Jared and the group. and the wonderful people at CIG, I would like to ask that you please allow the Carrick to have a tier 1 bed in the medical
Here
facility.
we go.
Okay, just that simple. A tier 1 bed. It is an expedition/explorer
Oh, wow,
ship.
look at the background.
So please go ahead and give it a tier 1 medical facility. Now, with all this that going on, these are very, very important to have. I always at least jump in the bed of the Carrick, and I always give myself at least a shot of the Sterigen, I believe. Just to go ahead and try to have a little bit of oomph when I get out there. But I still haven't played around with all these, but they're definitely important. I'm going to be interested to see how I'm going to stock up that medical bay, because I completely forgot about that side of the wing of the medical facility on the Carrick. But please give us a tier 1 bed. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Not on the Origins. They're just vacation materials. They get hurt, they can go back to the hospital.
Yeah.
That'll be right.
Y'all give him a bed so he'll quit drugging up every morning when he wakes up on his ship.
Performance enhancing Colossal.
Tomato, you got any thoughts about the health stuff? What for you? Are you expecting your people to make sure, like someone said, at least bring your own med pens? I'll have some stuff there, but
I generally, if I'm going to go out with the crew, like right now, I don't really pay any attention to what anybody has. If we end up, somebody is hurting, somebody hurt their leg, they got a tier 2 injury out on Daymar. Our general medical guidance is, you'll have to stay here, and maybe if we can come pick you up later, so be it. But you're going to slow us down. Should have brought a med pen. In the future, though, I think every ship should have a tool, a medical tool. I think every player should probably have some med pens and maybe the multi-tool attachment. But again, it's just going to depend on how all this gameplay shapes out. Maybe it'll be to the point where everybody feels like they need to have a medic on their team. Maybe it'll be to the point where everybody should be kind of their own medic. I think it'll be more towards the first option, because I do think that medical gameplay is going to get a lot deeper. Like right now, the system is just broken. In the advanced mode of healing, all you have to do is press a button, and it applies the perfect amount of drugs. It's very easy mode. So I think in the future, everybody will want to be able to dip their hands, but you're going to want to have like a dedicated, at least a mule carrying that medical stuff around for you.
Yeah.
That's kind of one question I have for you. So I'm in the Garden Interstellar initiative that SpaceTomato started and heads up, and there's a wing for racing, there's a wing for industry, there's a wing for security, and a wing for science. Is it kind of the thought that like each one of those wings within each one of those wings would have its own medical thing? Because medical kind of applies to whatever you're doing.
For ours specifically, medical is going to be in like the science division, but then we also have like a joint initiative between the medical division and the combat division to say, hey, these people are going to figure out what it takes to be a combat medic, as opposed to the science people. You might have somebody who's more interested on the medical side, but only when it comes to crafting. Like they're interested more in like getting with explorers, finding the right harvestables to maybe make something that we need. And again, that depends on the crafting system, but like I think there's definitely going to be different parts of medical gameplay as well, in the same way that like a salvager might be interested in planting salvage charges and getting components, where somebody else wants to like scrape the hull. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Alrighty. Next up, the armory. We're talking about armory as in armor. Lots of variety here, and pros and cons. Colossal, you kind of touched on it a little bit here, talking about what type of armor you wear. I usually always wear medium armor. I usually kind of find that middle of the road area. I'm not afraid of light armor. I rarely ever wear heavy armor. Very rarely wear heavy armor. I know some people that's their go-to, straight to heavy armor. And all of these have their pros and cons, right? What are some of the pros and cons when it comes to light, heavy, medium armor for anybody? Or do you just pick it because it's pretty?
Yeah, I stick to light armor almost always, unless I need a bigger backpack.
I mean, you run faster in light or medium than heavy. Just, man, you're so slow. Again, me personally, I play a lot of like FPS games and stuff outside of Star Citizen, so I just like to run constantly. I always need water, always. But yeah, light, heavy, rarely. I might wear like a heavy helmet. I don't know if it's a thing that the armor is actually thicker with heavier gear. I would assume, but yeah, I usually get headshot a lot, so I would wear like a heavy top, heavy helmet, and then maybe medium light bottom. But yeah.
Yeah, there are some plus sides to the heavy. I mean, you can take a little bit more of a hit. You know, we saw that with Jax and Jax's, you know, sidekick. He came up there with that heavy outfit. You know, you see how much he took those bullets.
Calling Jimmy a sidekick.
Wow. After all that character development, Kelosal.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, heavy armor. We try to pack up in heavy whenever we're doing bunker missions or things like that, and they do help out. There are some pros on that one, but just like Yo-Yo said, there are some nasty cons. It's slow. You can. I wouldn't be surprised if oxygen is used a lot when you're running around with that. Your stamina or whatever way they're putting stamina in the game with the blood pressure index they have should go a lot quicker when you run around in heavy armor. Heavy armor is heavy, but it should be durable as well. So pros and cons. It's all about what you want to do and survive. If you're fighting in a big battle, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw one division of heavy armored troops and another division of light armored troops trying to get into the building really quickly, depending on what they're trying to do. You might want to have that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I would say with armor, it's the same. I'm gonna take the same angle with everything. Right now, it doesn't matter to me. It's like I put on a light armor because they look good. Medium armors look good. Most of the heavy armors in this game, I think, look very bad. We've seen good heavy armors, like in their presentations when they've talked about utility armor. They showed us that one medical heavy armor a few years ago. It looked beautiful, and we've seen some like solid stuff that I think eventually I'll want to wear, but right now I just want to wear light armor because I'm quick in it. It gives me, okay protection. None of the armors really differentiate protection that much, so I'm not super concerned with that. The carrying capacity isn't that crazy, so I have a backpack anyways. Yeah. And the light and medium armors look better, but in the future they're gonna have their own power sources. Right. They're gonna have actual weight that you have to deal with in a bigger way than we have right now. Some of them are going to be limited to how you could fly a ship wearing them. That's right. Like there's going to be a ton of reasons to differentiate armor, but it's just not there yet.
Yeah. Some of you all who are old school will remember when you would wear heavy armor. If you ran too long, you'd have a heart attack and die. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Even if you just jump a lot, if you just keep jumping for like 10 seconds, you won't pass out, but your screen starts going gray.
Your heart rate used to go up, man. You'd be out there running to it and boom. What happened? They died, man. They died in that armor. Nobody shot him. He had a heart attack. Yeah. That was it.
that was as recent as the Orison gameplay they put in when you go up to the Crusader and you go fly to that area, because I remember having a heavy armor and try to run to catch the shuttle and died because I couldn't breathe. So yeah,
that's messed up.
I love this game.
That's messed up. All right,
we're always halfway in between being incredibly physically impressive citizens and also just worst. You just run across the city and die.
You just die.
This is true.
All righty, firearms.
I got the Elizabeth jokes.
Yeah, I want to throw this in a little bit here about the firearms because again, we're talking about the focus of what we do within our ships. Me being an Origin owner who has a tier 1 or tier 2 bed. I know the Carrick's got one. I know Kelosal, but anyway, I once went on the 890 and said, "Oh, they got weapons racks," and then I said, "Oh, this is awesome. We got people can defend the ship." Then I saw Abdi that there were 32 slots. Then I did the math of 32 times 3,000 per rifle, and realized how much money I would have to spend to make sure I had these weapons on my ship so that if something happened, my guests could help defend it. And I guess I'm asking that because many of us do have weapons racks. I mean, I have 32 slots, but if you've got a Carrick, if I'm not mistaken, Kelosal, that's like 16, something like that, 32, something like that. There's a tremendous amount of weapons racks in the back of that ship down on the tech deck. And there are other ships that are like that. Once again, are you guys going to fill those racks up? You know, a lot of times people will do a bunker mission. They'll get those extra guns and they'll slap them in there. But what do you think? Is it going to be where your crew going to put their guns? Or are you going to stock that stuff so that your people have weapons if needed?
I'm going to kindly stock them off the dead hands of the people that I shoot in those bunker missions. So that's where it's coming from. I'm probably going to put 1 or 2 P4s up in there, you know, just for people to have it. And then we'll go ahead and go to a bunker mission, shoot up the lot of them. What is it, 15, 10 of them down there? So go ahead and take those guns, put them in your ship, and boom, 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 you got a stock.
Colosal's gonna be like handing out guns to guests, and they're gonna be like, "Is there blood on this? Who's blood?"
You gotta clean it.
Be like, "Don't ask
You gotta clean it.
Do any of you guys use the weapons racks and stuff now in the game?
I do.
You do?
I started to.
Thanks, Lefty.
Oh wow! Somebody. Oh wow! Yeah. Oh, Lefty. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Best Squadron, best Squadron.
Yeah, absolutely. Test Squadron. Go ahead. You said, Tomato, you were saying that you have used them before. You did at one point.
Oh no, I was some Yo-Yo. I think was talking already.
Oh, you can go.
I was just gonna say that I sometimes I experiment with it. Once again, it's just something that I don't think is necessary right now. But yeah, if like as things start to persist more, I'm gonna equip my ships with stuff. Probably just take like the basic rifles and things I find, kind of Kelosal, and put them up there. Because like I don't want to give away my nice guns and the stuff I've been saving up for, but at the same time, if I'm gonna throw like a quick event or a mission or something and be like, hey, I want 5 people to come with me, I gotta raid this base.
Whoa!
Yo.
Hey, Bix, thank you.
I want to raid this base, or I want to like take some like valuable loot, and I want to bring some people with me. Then I'm gonna definitely have something for them to use if they don't have everything on them.
Yeah,
like you said, it's a lot of ammunition. And like the same goes for ship guns as well. If you have ballistic guns, I don't know what they're going to do with ammo. Are they going to make it so that you need to have that ammo in your cargo hold at the very least so that you can reload? Or are they going to make it so that like if you don't have ammo on your ship, you run out faster? How is it going to work like that? So yeah, I think there's a lot of considerations when it comes to ammunition and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why, if you look at that again, I'm going to talk about that Google Docs shopping list document. The weapon that I have on that is the P4 AR, because that's something that you can always find ammo for.
Right now, though, Abdi. Right now.
Right now.
Yeah, right now you
and
can.
This doc is a living document to me. It changes depending on what is around and what is available.
Yeah.
But right now, the gun that I want the most is the one that works well for me. Number one, the P4AR is a fine weapon. It works just fine. But is one where I can always know that if I go into a bunker, and it ends up getting kind of hairy, I can still come out of that bunker with something. And you usually can.
Yeah. I use the racks not because of role play, even though I like the role play. I actually was using them more to test persistence, to see whether or not when I came back to that ship a week later, 2 days later, whether those guns were going to still be in the rack. And amazingly, they were. Most of the time, they were.
See, that's going to make people use this stuff more. Like every one of these dates from like 315 with the inventory, 318 with PES, whenever we eventually get server meshing, like all of those are making you want to use these features just a little bit more every time. And I'm wondering if it's going to be just like a patch where everyone finally decides like, okay, I'm taking this seriously, or if it's sort of a slow understanding that you can't just keep throwing anything you want on the ship now. You got to pay attention.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think actually Jade said something that she uses them when bed logging, and it made me think about when we can't, or eventually we won't be able to get into our pilot seats with heavier armor. I don't know if it's medium armor too, but yeah, I think it's obviously probably going to be forced unless you can just put it into your pressing eye. That'll be gone too, putting into ship inventory. But being able to like leave your stuff or put your stuff where it belongs. I like the weapons racks in the MSR. I believe it's right next to the pilot seat. I could be wrong. It might be in the hallway. I think it's in the hallway. I thought it was in the pilot area.
There's one in the main area and then one in the hallway leading to the cockpit, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I do use that. And I think it's in the Vulture too. I saw that yesterday. But yeah, I guess it's a little role play to just put it in there because you're going to be salvaging for a long time in that seat. So, and you always want to, maybe have some weapons on you in case somebody tries to pirate you. But Yeah,
It's
that
so
being
cool.
what?
Just being able to go on somebody's ship and see the weapons in the racks, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're like,
honestly,
okay, it's there if I need it.
Yeah.
yeah. It took me like, man, probably several months to finally like see someone actually use it, which was the first time I realized weapon racks were actually a thing inside of ships. So maybe people don't even know that they actually exist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked that they
You think
didn't
it's
know
just-
with those.
You think it's like decoration.
Yeah,
Right?
well,
Or, like,
that's
it's
what
just
most folks
part
are
of the
used to.
wall.
Yeah, that's what most folks are used to. It's just something that looks cosmetic that it
Yeah.
doesn't, you don't think about it. I can actually sling this thing, especially if you try to use it when you're someplace that's in a zone, right? Because it's not going to work for you
Yeah.
until you're someplace
Mhm.
away from a
Yep.
what do you call the zones? Anyway,
Yeah, that's a
On
good
assist.
point.
Mhm.
Everybody's trying to try out their ship when they first get onto it. You know, you get into the hangar and you want to see how it works. You're not going to fly out into space, get out of armistice, and then go and look. So it's like people are probably walking around like, oh, okay, this is all just decoration.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and by the way, in case people don't know, many people's weapons racks have areas for pistols as well as rifles. So you can load up some of these things with a lot of weapons in them, but it can be costly. I like Colosal's idea. Put a couple in there as backups, and as you go through, start loading them up, which is a pretty cool thing to do. CC Creator, thank you so
CC.
much.
Thanks, CC.
We appreciate
Yeah,
you,
if
CC.
Thanks for the
If you do an
subscription.
890 jump mission, that's easily like 15 bodies.
Yeah,
Yeah, Lefty's also correct. Don't forget about the rail guns and rocket launchers, because you can also put them there,
Yes.
including the C2s and the M2s. I believe you can put them also in there as well. So yeah,
Yep.
Nice.
absolutely.
Can't put it in the
If you're ever
315.
wondering, oh, sorry about that.
on the kitchen
Go
counter.
ahead, I'm sorry.
If you're ever wondering how Meg knows so much about the amount of bodies that are in a particular location, just ask her about her closet on the Vulture.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I have
ask her
three.
about her closet on the Vulture.
I have 3 bodies in the closet, and Abdi's dead body is in my pilot seat right now.
Oh my god. I'm not gonna even ask. I'm not gonna ask.
I'm like, excuse me, that's my dead body. Please don't put that there. Treat me
I'm not
respectfully.
gonna
It's a
ask.
scarecrow.
I'm not
Want
gonna
people to know
ask.
can't mess with my ship. Someone's in it.
Alrighty. Civilian clothing. Civilian clothing. I don't know how many of you do this. I hate to say this, but Colossal knows this about me. I am a clothes, you know what. I will spend just as much time looking for clothes as I do armor and weapons. Doesn't have any significance right now other than just to make you personally happy, but eventually, your attire may have impact on who you talk to, where you go in the game. Ask all of you guys, what do you guys think about, you know, I'm not going to talk about the designs of the clothes and stuff because we've had shows on that, but do you guys spend time, do you store civilian stuff on your ships right now, or do you not do it? You know, is it all ugly and you can
Yeah.
care less, you know? Go ahead, Colossal, he's got his hand up.
You gotta have you gotta have an outfit for every system that you jump into. Everybody's gonna be different, right? I have a character called Mr. Nimbus. And Mr. Nimbus is an interesting role-playing character. So yes, outfits are important. Outfits are good. You need, New Babbage has an outfit style. Our good place over there, the Hurstons, they have their own particular style.
Bagheads, yeah.
The bagheads over there and things like that and so forth. You know, so yes, get one, role play, have a good time, and enjoy, especially when you hit the bars. If you come there looking broken to the, from the head to the toe, then you should be ridiculed.
You're not going to buy
especially if you
somebody
hit
a
the
drink if they
bars.
got on an Odyssey 2 flight suit. Is that what you're saying? You're not going to even buy them a drink?
No.
Tell them
no,
to take their helmet off,
absolutely.
at least a drink or something? Okay.
I'm just imagining now with like a different outfit for every system. Like you're just on a javelin with like 30 other people. Jump into a new system and you just, okay, everybody, this is your captain speaking. Please, everybody, switch into your pyro outfits now. Everybody just like takes them and makes their inventories and stuff.
Mad Max.
You don't want to look like a tourist.
Be ready
Yeah,
for the Great
That's true, then
Gatsby.
you're gonna get jumped.
If you guys remember, I want to say this though. If you remember when we watched the pyro demonstration at CitizenCon, there was a sequence where the character went and found a loot box or changed into the clothing of the people that were there so that they could move around without being seen.
Very
So
Metal Gear Solid.
yeah, so I will wonder whether or not, to Colossal's point, maybe when you do go to a certain system, certain planet, if you're dressed in attire from that place, whether you're received better because you happen to be wearing a jacket that maybe one of the gangs in Pyro wear and you're talking to somebody who's a part of that gang, versus if you come in wearing a t-shirt from Orison and they're offended or something with the UEE on it that says, no, I don't need to be talking to this person. I don't know if they're going to go that far, but again, Chris is known for putting things into the game that have some meaning. And so even though there are some people who just would wear casual clothing and civilian clothing just because they enjoy it, I wonder whether they will continue to associate certain things to what type of attire you wear. Nasty Bougie, thank you for that follow.
Hey.
Thank you.
Nice. I mean, a good example of that also, Griff, is that Grimhex. Grimhex has his own nice little place over there by the bar. And, and you can have a good time with that over there at Grimhex. And hey, thanks, JMO. Address accordingly. You may have the Ninetales may be there. If Ninetales see you running around with a Crusader outfit, at a Grimhex, you may have some type of problems. Now, I'm just theory crafting there, but if that's going to be where they're moving towards, it's going to be exciting to see that. Get yourself an outfit for each system you jump into.
Or, I mean, not to be funny, what happens if you're wearing Ninetales armor? You know what I mean? And, because you just want to be cheap. But you get shot at because you're wearing it. Meg's laughing. Meg's laughing.
Well, I've had real situations where, with friends, our name tags disappear, and if you're in pirate armor, you look like one of the bad guys. Yeah.
Shoot first, beg for forgiveness later.
Every time, and you get shot every time.
Yeah, Tomato.
What you were saying sounded kind of familiar, and so I wanted to double check. And went back to the September monthly report.
Okay.
And found this. They say in the AI section that designers can configure which clothing works for which faction and location so that a successful disguise combines both player actions and the configuration of the NPCs in the environment. Definitely, they are actively working on this.
Metal Gear Solid. Let's do it.
Okay.
And I think another point for, thinking about what you're going to wear is we walk around like loot goblins right now with like heavy backpacks and like literally guns falling out of our pockets and stuff.
10 different outfits.
Right, 10 different outfits. But in the future, you're going through security. And when you go through security, you're probably not going to be able to bring a gun with you. So, talking about the weapon lockers too and all that kind of stuff, like you probably don't want to be walking around a city with your guns hanging out and all that. Well, and on top of that, like, you just want to get through security fast so you can get to the TDD. You swap out your loadout for your clothes. You go on, you go to the TDD, you come back, and then you get on your ship and you go back into your armor loadout or your flight suit or whatever.
Let me ask a question, because to your point, some people may not know that civilian clothing actually does have, you can store things in civilian clothing, that you can carry a few items with you.
A double dog or two.
Yeah, a double dog or two.
Drugs about this, guys. Yeah.
Do you think that they'll, I don't want to say this the wrong way. I'm not trying to give them any ideas either, but I'm trying to, once again, find a practical reason for why clothing becomes important, because clothing stores are everywhere, right? Every place you go, there are clothing stores. And if people are just going to walk around in flight suits all the time, what's the purpose of a clothing store? So, will there be a situation where technically you need to put on civilian clothes when you go into certain places? In other words, you can't walk in. Yeah, I mean, you cannot walk in with a flight suit or armor on. You've got to go through customs. Is that going to be a factor in the game? Or maybe just in certain locations? Maybe it's not everywhere. But I'm just curious.
Didn't you talk about that one place that was supposed to be like concierge only or something? Like a restaurant was supposed to open on Microtech?
We were talking about, that's what we were joking around about that. The fancy restaurant there. But no, there are planets though. No, there are planets though that we talked about how they're kind of like luxury resorts. You got to come in a nice ship. You can't come, in your Drake, whatever. I hate to pick on Drake people, but you have to come in a nice ship when you come there.
I like to pick on Drake people.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question, Meg. Can I walk into that restaurant wearing a flight suit? Maybe I can't. Maybe I do have to be in civilian clothes. I to me, that's cool. Some people are going to be pissed off by it, probably. But to me,
I'm wondering if it would be a bad idea to have some form. They already have like a perception meter. So like if you're in a place where you're hostile, they're already talking about how, just like games like Splinter Cell, Hitman, stuff like that, the NPCs will be more and more suspicious of you based on the sound you're making or being able to see you or something like that. I always wonder if there should be like a civilian version of that. Like if you're running around or if you're wearing the wrong thing in the wrong place, you don't necessarily get like a reputation change or you don't get affected in any way, but maybe security takes more notice of you. It shows you that you're being watched a little bit more closely in case you do something suspicious.
Interesting.
Because I don't know how else you could really draw emphasis to what somebody's wearing other than try and, you don't just want
You could do it through the quest system and reputation. I feel like maybe, like you have less options when you go up to a quest giver if you're wearing this or that or something like that.
But that would only get you if you're doing like a check, right, with a person. It doesn't really affect you if you're just walking around a city
Or just in general.
wearing a giant spacesuit.
It could
You're
be
saying like
something
when
where it's like if you're at a place where, right now we get stopped by the cops or whatever if you're flying in the universe. Maybe there's something where like you're in a super, like it's Hurston or something where they're like super locked down on everybody. They got security walking around everywhere.
You can say it,
Whereas
you're
on
flying a
Left
Drake
Ski-
ship.
Or like if you're if you're walking around with the equivalent of a Drake ship outfit or something like that, then maybe someone's gonna be like, hey, like let me see your papers or something like that. But if you're on Left Ski, it's like, you know what, everyone's cool here, so like you can just walk around with whatever, we don't judge you, kind of a thing. So I don't know.
They are really cool at Levski.
I mean, that's interesting. You guys get some good spaces based upon location having impact on you. A place like Orison, where everybody's kind of chill and laid back, you wouldn't want to see people necessarily walking around fully armored with all this stuff on. But if you're at a place like Levski, you could have the bounty hunter look and it would fit in, right? And nobody would really question you about it in a location like that. So who knows? I'm glad you mentioned that, Tomato, about the AI, huh?
In Levski?
Yeah, Levski.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, the People's Republic folks over there, they're a little bit more lenient,
Yeah, that's the kind of system you could expand to.
Right now. Look, he's judging you right now.
No. Just imagining
that look.
something. In the People's Republic. I'm thinking about Jay Starwatch over there.
Yeah.
He's a good group.
Yeah, they got room for you to walk around looking like Han Solo over there. You can walk around looking like Han Solo there. I'm not sure you can walk around looking like Han Solo in New Babbage. To me it just doesn't fit. All right, let's hit this next one, guys, because this is a big one here, and a lot of people may not even know about all these categories that are listed here. But this is about ship components. And as you guys know, these are physicalized. A little while back, Paul Jones or somebody talked about they had over 200 items that they were working on. There's a lot of different components for them to put into the game. What do you guys think they're going to do with these things? Are these going to be, we just had this big show on engineers last week. Are these components going to be actually, we've seen them when we go to when we have CitizenCon, we go to the big convention center, we've got these components sitting there that you can walk up to. They got size and mass. It's very easy to say, yeah, I'm going to load my ship up with 3 quantum drives for backups. I mean, and what's the impact of that for storage? Where are you putting these things? Because like, again, people will look at a ship and talk about a cargo bay. Oh, I'm going to load it up with so much cargo, but you got to find some place to put food, components. That's not going to be just laying out in the hallway somewhere. So what do you guys think is going to happen with this stuff?
I mean, aren't like size 3 like quantum drives, or I can't remember which component, like super, super big? Like I feel like I've seen some at the convention.
Well, there's some of them that are really big. Yeah, they're gigantic.
Yeah, some of them are huge. And then you think about the fact that like right now, when you drive around a car, you don't have like a spare engine on board. I feel like your engineer would probably be like, you know what, I'm going to repair what we got, rather than just have a spare. And I wonder if they do that by making it cost prohibitive to buy any of these types of things.
Well, these are like these have to be the most credit dense objects in the game, right? Mm-hmm. Besides like a relic or something, this has to be where all the money is. So I feel like it's much more worth the risk to bring extra because there's also subcomponents,
right? So
like if components that work based on the subcomponents inside them, it's probably much better to just carry around subcomponents and not risk the price of this if you get aborted or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just asking because we all know that we've got panels on our ships. You open the panel, there's the component sitting behind there. Now, the impression I got was that some of that stuff is going to be swappable. Some of it will be, you could pull it, put another one in, right? Yeah. But again, you ain't storing that thing in your backpack. Your freaking size 2 cooler is not in your backpack anymore, and where are we putting these things? Are these things down in our cargo decks? Are they in crates? You know, and
So this
again,
is-
how is that impacting when I want to do cargo or some other runs, vehicles? If I want to put a vehicle in there, is there now room for me to put these things? A lot of stuff to think about.
This is why I have a Carrack, because the Carrack has 2 modular bays at the bottom of it. So maybe I could use one to carry any types of additional resources that probably are the most important, like a shield generator. You know, I mean, we still have to factor in that a Crucible is not in the game yet. That could help repair those things. So you may not have to put these types of things in your ship if you have access to those types of equipment or your org. But there's going to come to a point. I don't think we know much right now, but it's going to come a point where we're going to have to decide which component wears out the most or is damaged the most. Where you may have to have an additional piece, like maybe a shield generator, like maybe a cooler. Engines, you may not be able to carry that. That's way too big, you know. You could jump into a Gladius right now, and we saw this when they finally made the Gladius, the gold version, gold standard. You saw the components actually pop out.
Right.
You know, they were popping up from the ship.
Right.
That's when I started realizing, oh, we're going to actually be able to take these things out or possibly repair it. So, and Gladius just has an additional storage in the back, I believe, either for fuel tanking or maybe storage, I don't know, at 2 SCU worth. So it's going to be interesting to see how we manage that piece. I don't know, honestly.
Yo, what would your approach be?
To bringing components on my ship, honestly, I don't know. So like, honestly, I haven't thought about until just now when I think Griffin was mentioning it, the space in my ship. Like my go-to bigger ship is the MSR, and if I want to carry like a vehicle and I want to carry other stuff, sure, I have like the side hallways, but a vehicle takes up like half the space. So like to even carry, like if I wanted to help somebody with like transport their salvage, there's not a lot of room. And so if I want to carry other stuff like components, it's something that I'd have to think deeper about, because it is something I haven't thought about, carrying like extra on my ship. But I could definitely, like hearing you guys talk about it, I see how it is something beneficial to think about, like consider bringing. But yeah, I would definitely have to consider the size of my ship, if it's important, what else is more important, and if these things are important, maybe I need something bigger.
Or you just need a good engineer, and that's the kind of thing that I want to go into, because like industry is part of what I like to do. And I want to be someone where like, hey, if I'm on your ship and you want me to run, engineering or anything like that, I know there's like 3 types of roles that they talked about in the last video from Thursday, but I want to be the type of person where it's like, if you ain't got like extras, I'll take a toothpick and I'll pull a whatever his name is. Oh my god, I can't remember it.
MacGyver.
I'm gonna MacGyver this business, and I'm gonna figure out how to take what you got, and I'm gonna rewire it. I'm gonna take the relays, and I'm gonna find a way to make it work. Kind of like like any, I feel like good engineer would need to be able to do. And to me, that sounds like you're swapping buying an object for having a person, and I think that person is a little bit more flexible, and I kind of like the idea of having a little bit more flexibility rather than just having an item that works or could get shot up.
I think
I agree with that.
Let me throw something on you, Abdi, and I agree with you. I think that's why the role of engineer is going to be important, so that you don't get to that place where I have to totally replace this unit. But in that show on Thursday, they also talked about how things can go out of tune and maybe get totally destroyed, right? So there is no repair. I think what might be the fix is what you mentioned earlier when you were talking about sizes. Maybe size 1 and 2 components are sizes that we can literally store, put on our ship. Size 3 and above, size 3 and above becomes you got to go to a Cousin Crows. When you start getting into capital class stuff, because if you've ever seen the life support unit on a freaking 890, this is the size of a wall. There's no putting that somewhere. You know what I mean? So you may have to say that the lower size stuff, yes, you can carry with you, which is great, because it's portability, versus once you start getting into Carrack size and above, or Polaris, now you've got to go to a facility for larger things to be replaced.
And I like that idea of having to go to Tashi Station or something like that, like in Star Wars, and like, getting a I don't know, field reverberator or something,
Yeah.
you know, to patch up this or that.
Yep.
You know, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And
Or Colossal's point, the Crucible
knowing
does
the
it.
difference, huh?
I said, or Colossal's point, a Crucible can maintenance a larger ship.
Right.
You know,
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Because you
Yeah,
want
I
to keep
think
the
that makes a
game
lot of
loops
sense.
going. You want to keep the game loops going. Tomato, what
Yeah.
were you going to
Yeah.
say?
Well, this seems like something that they're starting to think about more with. There are a couple ships that like you can see are going to have real problems with this. And I think the Freelancer was one of the obvious ones, and they mentioned in the last monthly report that Freelancer is something that they're starting to change based on physical components, which
Mhm.
they've talked about physical components for a long time, and they've been updating ships like as they build them, but they haven't really talked about going back to the old ones to make sure that they like the size actually works. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping with the engineering coming up and maybe with salvage making some more steps ahead. Get out of here, Whammers.
Thanks, Captain Cooper. Appreciate it.
He's got like tomatoes in there too, man. That's
Yeah,
terrifying.
it's taunting. I'm hoping that physicalized components becomes more of a thing because all of this starts to become more of a reality once it does. Like you said, putting it in your cargo bay isn't really a thing yet.
Mhm.
And it'd be cool to like board a ship and see a power supply sitting there and be like, oh yes.
And this
Yeah,
is like
especially if
not
you
just
need it.
any power supply. This is like one of those really nice ones
Yeah.
or something
Mhm.
like that, you know?
Yeah, if you need it for sure, right? Okay, very
And
cool.
I guess maybe thinking about it too, kind of like what I was talking about with a car engine. Maybe you would have like a snowblower or a lawnmower engine on, like that's more feasible to have in your cargo hold or something. So maybe thinking of it scaled up like that. So like
Mhm.
a Gladius is like having a lawnmower engine or something, but like having a Carrack is more like having, I don't know, like a plane engine or something.
Yeah.
Something crazy
Yeah.
like that.
Basically,
Mhm.
basically, yeah. All right, let's talk about security here. You know, I don't know how many of y'all have ever done this before. You run out their house and left your crypto key, right? Didn't bring it with you. What do you guys? How can I say this? Are these going to be items that you have to worry about keeping on board your ship, or because it is a pain in the butt if you go out with a group of people and somebody gets a crime stat and then I don't have any crypto keys on me.
Yeah, for me, it definitely is. It's one of the first things I go to grab, not purchase, but I mean, it is available in bunkers right now. But it would be something that I would grab.
With
Unless-
all those bodies in your closet, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like finding that like a serial killer's vulture out there.
Anyways, yeah, I usually carry at least two. But if I usually carry the amount of people that I'm playing with, I usually carry the amount of cryptic for the amount of people that I'm playing with, just in case. But yeah, because you never know what's going to happen, and maybe you don't want to go all the way to Grimhex, or maybe you don't because you're already being tracked. Maybe you don't want to go to Yella, Grimhex, and then go to like Korea, which I mean, it's changed in 3.18, so maybe Korea is not even the best place to go anymore. Maybe you take the prison route, or maybe you go to I don't know. Did they take the things out of the outposts? Here's where you get some of your stats like Hurston.
You know, I haven't
Outpost
thought about
one.
that now.
I haven't tried the
They might
outpost
have.
yet. I haven't tried the
I haven't
outpost
checked.
yet.
I feel like I heard something about that
If
because they
they-
want to like funnel more
They
people
said-
in that way, but
Jay said
They
yes.
said
they did.
those are gone. Jade
Yeah.
says they're
Yeah.
gone. Okay.
Yeah,
they
so
want
I'm
to funnel people that way.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
very scared in general to get a crime stat now. I don't even know if crypto keys are worth it anymore. I might just go to jail.
And this is what I'm talking about. Like I don't role play evil or not evil.
Yeah.
What is it called? Like, you know, like Paragon and the other side, whatever. But when I was testing out game loops back when, like in 2021, I was doing like I had Tiger Claws all the time. We were doing bunker raids and doing stuff like that. But now that I know Renegade, that's the one. Fast card, thank you. Yeah, so now that I know what game loop I really want to take, I'm not doing as much of the criminal activity. But man,
Yeah.
the game is so like shoddy right now. Not shoddy. I shouldn't say that. The game has so many bugs in it that could get you an accidental crime stat that I think that right now it wouldn't be a bad thing for everybody to have one.
Yeah, absolutely. We've
At
already.
least
Go ahead.
I'm glad they made the stat 1 and 2 not as bad. That's definitely helpful.
Mhm. Yeah, reduce things to misdemeanors and be able to pay fines and everything else.
Yeah.
There's still some accidental things that happen from time to time, but yeah. We
So
already.
nasty,
Go ahead, Colossal.
Nasty Boogie said Colossal Scam equals SE servers. That's been a controversy since I've been here. I'm just calling it that's shenanigans.
It's
every time I
the
pop on
internet
the
in the
show-
state of Florida. That's all I'm going to say. It's the internet in the state of Florida. Okay.
but in addition
Sometimes,
to, go ahead, Abdi.
no, you go for it, bro. You go for it, man.
No, I was saying the crypto keys. I mean, if I had it my way in Colossus Utopia, the crypto keys should be sold at a certain location. Like maybe we do see them at New Babbage over there in the little Apple store they got down there. And I think they call it a Lightning something or whatever it is. I don't know I can't remember what it's called, but I think that should be either decently priced to expensive. And if you get one from GrimHex, it shouldn't look as nice as this. It should look tore up, wired. You should see wires all over the place. Used and almost like rigged.
Kind of a 40% chance of failure kind of thing.
And it should backfire a lot. It should backfire a lot. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to go ahead and do that, because once again, if you're committing, they got it set up right now where if you got at least a level 2, you can go ahead and go to the kiosk and pay for that off. I paid $32,000 just today.
Right.
To get it off, right? A level 2 crime stat. But if you're gonna go ahead and jump to a level 3 and 4 and 5 and you knowingly did that, then you should be able to go into a New Babbage or Lorville.
Yeah.
So to get that, you should be able to go straight to GrimHex, buy a busted system, and have a 60% chance of it failing on you all the time.
Yeah.
It's like when you've got a bus ticket on the ground and you're like, I wonder if this has any more charges on it.
Well, remember before they used to have like 3 different types of them, and they did have different levels of not consistency, but success rate, right? And then it just kind of went to the Tiger Claw. But I agree. I think that when you're lawful and everything's okay, you should be able to walk into the Apple store at New Babbage and get one at a moderately high price, not ridiculously, but high.
I agree.
But when you go to GrimHex, you should have to pay through the nose, and it should be, let's say, 20% chance of failure. Maybe 80% of the time, 70% of the time, it'll work. Or you just have to keep going back and acting, hitting the button, take it out, something weird to make you hustle a little bit for it. But
yeah,
that's
maybe a little bit of blood stains on it too.
60%. So with that being said, I don't get these because I don't do the criminal stuff. I do know the warden.
Yeah, you just go to prison. Yeah, you just go straight to prison. We already know what you do. Yeah, he's got his own jail cell. Go ahead.
Also, hacking's going to change, right?
Yeah.
They have that tool, so we might not even have chips at some point. It might just be you need to get yourself some bootleg hacking tool that connects.
Good point. Good point. Okay, let's talk about this. This got everybody excited this week. Engineering, in particular. I don't want to talk about the engineering classes because we're going to get to that when we get to crew. But I do want to talk about something that CIG has talked about before, and then something they actually showed us this week. One of them is that right there, the fire extinguisher. We've heard CIG had been working on this in the past, but this week we actually saw them they talked about how the fire extinguisher would be used. What did you guys think about this whole thing with the fire extinguisher to turn up if your components get on fire?
I think it's cool. It feels kind of immersive sim. Like something you'd see in Deus Ex or Prey. You don't necessarily have to press a button to get it to a certain level. It's literally you have an object in a game that can cool things down. You have an object in a game that can react to temperature, and you can figure out what you want to do to make them work together. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the day people don't refill this. I'm looking for the accident to happen when you tell somebody to go get it and it's.
Well,
I'm looking for that.
Out once a year, man. No.
Not to be funny, for the longest time when I would run through or walk through the stations, we used to always see these tanks. You remember those talking about that? And I used to always say, were they oxygen tanks? But I'm wondering whether or not those are like refill stations where you can take your empty tank, because you've got to replace these. They're not going to be indefinite with material in them. This again becomes one more expense for you on your ship if you've had to use these, because like Colossal says, if your engineer happens to use one of these and forgets to tell you and you don't replace it, you come back later, you don't have a fire extinguisher.
So that's what I was leading towards with that, Griff, because we do see them. We see them at Lorville, right in front of the trains. Right. When you get to the trains, there's a whole huge dispenser area of I don't know, tanks or things like that. I don't know if you feel them there, but you're going to have a foreman right? Somebody who has your ship's inventory and make sure your ship is restocked as soon as it gets into dock. So, I mean, that's one thing you need to have. If you're going to run around in the Carrick, you're going to run around in the Idris, if you're going to run around something like that, you need to have those people who are in charge of making sure that your ship has the basics before it sets off.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing that for the Idris? God, that's going to be such a job. It's like the only thing you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, at the during the ISC this week, Disco did a little waiver in there, or a disclaimer, where he said that, hey, just understand that our artists are having a little fun with the animations and stuff that they showed. It's like the guy blowing up on the toilet and everything. But what they did do was show the fire extinguisher, and they said a flamethrower. Now,
Yes.
I'm also kind of curious about this, because they said that if you have something that I guess you have the opposite reaction to, I've never really heard of anybody using a flamethrower.
You saw it on movies. Didn't you see it on Aliens?
No. I'm talking about in the sense of from an engineering standpoint. What would be the reason that there's something so cold that I'm using a flamethrower on it? I didn't catch that.
I live in Minnesota. I know you live in you're in the Midwest too, but in Minnesota, there have been times where I wish I had a flamethrower for my engine. I don't know. I could see it being something that you'd have on, that maybe an engineer has not a flamethrower, but a blowtorch or something like that. I don't know.
Well, they said flamethrower, blowtorch in the show. That they actually said blowtorch too.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, like, that makes a lot of sense to me from an engineering standpoint. Flamethrower might just be something where it's like you're Chewbacca, you go outside the ship because there's a bunch of weird animals in the freaking ducks or something like that, so you're flamethrowing them out of it, to get those parasites out of there, kind of a thing. Okay. So
I could see the blowtorch for the mechanic's job. If there's something that like you said, they're doing some form of repair, I get it. I was just trying to connect that a little bit as to why they would use a blowtorch. There are plenty of people who are excited about the fact that there's about putting a blowtorch in the game, by the way. Which is going to be interesting.
Very cold in space. It can get.
I mean, the multi-tool kind of already does something similar, where like you're going to be cutting up grates
with the cutter
to get inside them. So I mean, it's kind of like a blowtorch. So I don't know if they'll have something that like a gray cat blowtorch thing.
CIG told us that there would also be, someone mentioned this in chat about it being cold out. CIG did tell us that there would be a situation where if your ships are turned off and you're on a cold planet, that it will not be a just start up and take off thing, that there will be a startup warm-up sequence that'll take place on your ship. Now, whether they do that or not later on, I don't know, but it's something they are considering,
Bro, that's my 2002 Honda, man. I have to run that thing for 15 minutes before it goes anywhere.
Anybody got any thoughts about that? Anybody got anything with the flamethrower at all? Any other thoughts?
I think I don't know how realistic it'll be to actually do this in the game. I think we'll probably, like you said, we'll have situations where you do have to like speed it up. You're crashed out there in microtech and like you're repairing your ship, and obviously there's no life support running, so it's super cold inside. I don't know if that'll be a thing or not, but I do kind of just see this as confirming the idea of this feature being immersive sim-like. Basically just showing that, like, yeah, you can cool things down if you need to. That's how responsive it is to temperature, though. You can also heat it up. Kind of almost like they're flexing how much work they've done on the fire feature, because we've been seeing that in development for a long time.
Yeah.
And like they've demoed how it spreads and how it heats stuff up. Maybe they just want to show us how impressive it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're out in space and we're doing things like venting things to the vacuum of space, if we ever want to like take out a fire or something like that, maybe it makes sense.
Well, Waffles here says coolers, for example, when they're getting overclocked, they generate a lot of coolant and the coils could freeze. So maybe having something like that there as a way to compensate on a manual way, maybe there would be something like that. Personally, I'd love to take that with me when I go in the cave where the spiders are. That's going to be my reason for the flamethrower. But I'm just
interested. When you get that Freon.
Yeah, I know. But it was interesting that they just, they brought out a flamethrower. Fire extinguisher we'd heard about. Flamethrower, that was the first time I heard them, literally talk about it in game. So I thought that was
that looks like an attachment, because it looks like it's on a shotgun, but
yeah.
I don't know.
You know what? Well, to your point, I think the next things, in fact, Colossal, the next things we're getting ready to show may be the lead to what that particular item is based on how that looks. And that was some items from Gray Cat. Great Cat Industrial. CIG showed us this. Tomato, you may have remembered when this was, how long ago it was, but they showed us an industrial cutting tool and an industrial tractor beam. Some of you guys may remember this. They didn't go into any great detail on it, but they did show that they had gotten pretty far with these items. And in fact, if I'm remembering correctly, on the white box video they showed when they were doing the hull stripping, the avatar had the tractor beam version on their back, if I'm remembering correctly in that video. So these items are items that we have seen that CIG is working. Here's the one that is the tractor beam version. And Kelosal, I was wondering whether or not there would be like a Gray Cat version that would be that flamethrower too. Any thoughts you guys have on Tomato? I'm gonna go to you on these. Any thoughts on these items here? Because these are industrial. Would you have them on your ship first off? Let me ask you that. Is that something you would think about considering having these on your ship?
Yes.
This is the kind of thing where like I think most players would have a multi-tool, but this seems like it would be more specific to like a job, you know, like if you have the actual tractor beam with you, then you are a cargo loader. You're somebody who is either riding on a cargo ship who's going to have to load stuff off, or you're somebody at like a city or outpost, and you know you'd have to tractor beam stuff on. I'm guessing this kind of thing maybe could carry like a 16 SCU box by itself. I don't know what they have planned for this, but I've always been a little bit disappointed by this, and I just wanted to pull up the list, the progress tracker list, just in case to make sure. I remember when they started talking about these and working on them, I think it was 2 years ago now, when they first introduced these to us in ISC, and they mentioned that the weapons team were taking a break from weapons. I mean, we haven't gotten any new FPS weapons in a long time. And they were taking a break because they were working on these things, but then these things never showed up. And I'm looking at the stuff that the weapons features and content teams are working on. And to be honest, it doesn't seem like we've really seen anything of significance from them in a long time. I mean, I'm seeing the fire extinguisher, which we were just looking at, but besides that, there's cutting T2, there's charge and drain, there's these different tools of salvage and cutting tools. There's not really much we've seen from them, so I'm wondering what's going on with them, like what they're working on. Maybe mostly stuff for Squadron 42, but I would really like to see these more dedicated tools come into the game. At the same time, though, if the profession's not there, maybe it's not useful. But I don't think you would need to have one of these if you're just an average citizen going about your day.
Because right now the multi-tool can lift a 1 SCU box, right?
Yeah.
So I would see this, that handheld thing, to me, without getting into the areas of other, like the tractor beams that are on ships like the Taurus or even stuff like the SRV, I would think maybe up to an 8 SCU for something that's rifle sized, maybe 16, maybe 16.
Because the multi-tool can carry a 2 SCU box as well.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
You've got some flexibility with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you guys got any other thoughts about these, and you all?
I mean, just Tomato makes an interesting point, because even if you go back to the Crytek days, when you saw footage of them doing FPS shooting, you saw shields being placed on the ground.
Yeah.
And so that's a personal shields being put on the ground. So that makes a very good point in terms of where they are with the FPS stuff. I mean, I would carry it, honestly, because once again, I am going to be running around either in an Endeavor, a Banu Merchantman homage to Fast Cart, or an Endeavor. Can't wait for the dark horse of all ships.
So you're thinking these are going to be more for people who are doing stuff like exploration or industrial. Other folks may not necessarily need to have,
Yeah, I think they're a necessity to keep from coming back on the planet. I think they're a necessity. It's almost like, my dad always told me, son, make sure when you grow up, get yourself a toolbox and have yourself a set of tools, so you won't have to need for anything and won't have to ask for people for stuff. This reminds me of that. Get yourself a set of tools that can go ahead and do a lot of things, including one of these, and you won't have to worry about stopping at space stations or stopping on planets to go ahead and restock and get that stuff.
Okay. The cutter I'm interested in light of what we have been seeing happening with salvage, whether this becomes the type of tool not like what we see on the multi-tool, but something like this when you want to start going out and like the person who's got the vulture, they've got one of these to start breaking down the frame of a ship, or maybe even to cut out components, maybe large components, something that's scaled a little bit bigger, that's beyond maybe what the multi-tool can do. But we'll see. We'll see where they go with these. I would love to see more stuff like that come out, though, to be honest with you. I would.
Yeah. I mean, like right now, just because things are the way they are, it's just so much more convenient to have a multi-tool and then have all the different attachments with you so that you can have just one thing on your person and then you can just swap out the little attachments. But I think in the future, if you have an engineer, the engineer having they don't need to carry guns. Well, maybe they need to carry guns. Maybe. Oh, thank you so much, Citizen Moore.
Hey, Citizen Moore,
thanks
thank
for the follow. But maybe their weapons are in the weapons locker, but their tractor beam or cutting tool is on their person or something like that. If they need it more often, so we'll see.
Well,
Nomad wants magic gauntlets.
Yeah, magic gauntlets, right? Well, you talked about it. We've been talking about it. The multi-tool, the infamous multi-tool. The multi-tool has grown. It has a lot of stuff attached to it. One of the things, though, that has not been impacting that yet, and even though we've seen it in our inventory, is the battery. Tomato, I don't think folks have thought about, you mentioned this earlier about backpacks and stuff. People haven't thought about the fact that a lot of stuff's going to have to be powered, right? Later on in the game, it's not going to be this infinite power source stuff.
Yeah, the whole charge and drain thing is, I think the multi-tool might be the first place that they're trying to do something with that. But the multi-tool is awesome. I mean, this is something everybody should have. Like, this is the multi-tool has been part of both the most neglected features, but also some of the best. Like the cutting aspect of the multi-tool, completely useless in the game right now. The tractor beam is like
it looks good in machinima
feature release.
It looks good in machinima.
It does. That's true. Yeah, and in fake videos when you're trying to do engineering gameplay.
Right.
But the tractor beam has been like the best feature they've ever added, because like if you look at all the different features they put in, a lot of them either A, didn't feel good enough, or B, felt rather, I guess, A, didn't feel polished enough, or B, felt like they just had too many glitches. But the tractor beam attachment came in, it had its uses. It wasn't super useful, but there was nothing particularly wrong with it. And everybody uses it for boxes and weapons and bodies and stuff. And it's just part of the game without being a major pain point for anybody. So I think the multi-tool is definitely one to carry with you. The only really super necessary attachment that it has right now, though, I think is the tractor beam.
A question to you all, because we're talking about what are those things that we're taking with us so that we know we have everything we need when we go out into space. Is this going to be a standard thing that you have on your ship? Are you going to have these on there just automatically? So it's automatic purchase to have on there, like Kelosal was talking about the toolbox?
Yeah, definitely.
What about the attachments? Let's assume that these attachments are working. Which ones interest you?
All of them.
And then talk about Meg. We were playing this weekend again, and like we were talking about just things that we needed to find or get. What was super helpful for us out there?
The SRT attachment, right? And then I don't know what the other thing is, but it's like what holds what you salvage.
Yeah, the RMC container.
Yeah. So those two things, those have been pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, tractor beam.
Some people didn't know about that SRT. They didn't know that they had to have that when they were doing salvage, which was if they just thought they'd just get my multi-tool and go. They didn't realize there was actually attachment that got created for salvaging. What about the lifeguard medical? Any of you guys ever monkey around with that, or do you just automatically go to the medical device? Abdi, you say you do, huh?
Yeah, I've realized that just having all these like weapons on myself just feels so cumbersome that I'm the type of person now where I just want to have my multi-tool and just have the attachments in my backpack or have the attachments on me. So if I need to swap between the SRT, if I need to swap between the tractor beam or swap between the medical, I honestly haven't done a ton of research into what all the different types of medical like injection stuff, like the syringes, what all those do. So for me, Hemazol is pretty much all I need for my purposes. So the fact that the multi-tool only really gives you Hemazol works just fine for me.
Yeah, I think Griff put the list of earlier in the show, and it showed exactly what to do. Like I use a Sterigin. Sterigin helps out with your respiration. So when you're running around, that's a good thing to go ahead and keep that under control. But I definitely use all of these. I mean, I feel naked if I go out into the verse without a multi-tool and without every last component that it has. Because
But not the cutter, right? You don't. I mean, does the cutter do anything?
I don't have the cutter. That's probably one thing that I can, not care anything about. Just like SpaceTomato said, there's really no loop for gameplay on that one unless you would have done the original loop for that, which was out in Hurston when you had to go to that satellite that was busted and cut the thing off. I believe that was used for that.
Yeah.
I think that was the only time that was in gameplay.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, buy yourself one of everything here if you're not going to be a medical expert. And you don't want to have a gun, a medical gun. This right here, get yourself one that green tank. I can't remember what it is. Get that. Get yourself a medical piece with that, with the lifeguard, and you can just go ahead and press and hold the F key and customize it right on spot, and just start taking and putting in stuff really quickly. And I did that last night with a couple of testes because I was, moving from tractoring to healing some people with just this gun. So great tool to have.
Yeah, I will say also it's one thing to consider how you're equipping your body, because I'm pretty sure you can only have it might be that you can carry more on heavy armor, but you only have 2 spots. So like if you want to carry a pistol, a multi-tool, and a med gun, you can't. So honestly, I didn't know that you could use the lifeguard medical attachment. I know, dumb. It's right there in the title, but you could use that to heal yourself. So I might start using that more often because I do carry a multi-tool, and if that means I can drop a med gun, and because I'm not normally a medic, but if I can drop the med gun and carry a pistol, yeah, that's something to consider.
For sure.
All right.
His Divine Shadow said a cutter can open locked doors, and anybody experience that? He said it's not efficient.
That's what I was wondering, because I've seen people shoot doors. I was watching like Verity the other day, and
people have been shooting
doors.
They've been shooting doors, but on the cutter on the doors, let's give that a try.
They should make it so that
That'd
you
be
have
great.
to, because then I think more people would have it on them,
Oh,
so that they can
absolutely.
bust into a hammerhead or an Idris or something weird.
Jade
like
says
everybody.
yes. It will unlock doors. Wow.
They should make it so it could do it faster or something better. I don't know.
Yeah, we need to have the proper material applied to things in the game so that because it's one thing to tell players that they can break into ships using it, but to actually try and inform players, just look for this on the ship and cut through it. They don't, they just float up to the door and start shooting in the middle of it with a laser. There needs to be something that like helps the player understand how that works.
Yeah, and then Jade said that she loves you can craft all these things on the Vulture and Reclaimer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a new feature.
Yep. All right. Last but not least, this is going to be a different way of looking at it because we've been talking about items. Now we're talking about people. Who do you want on your ship? Who needs to be on your ship? And obviously this is going to be scaled, but I've heard people go out and say, oh, when I go out my ship, I'm going to go out with 2 or 3 of my buddies and I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. I know people sometimes look at what the ship matrix says. It may say that, for example, I was looking at the Idris today and it said that the Idris minimum crew was 8 people, but maximum complement is 28. What's the reality for you guys when it comes to crewing your ships? Do you feel that you'll operate with minimums? Do you feel like you'll operate with maximums? There are a lot of things to think about. CIG has told us, and Kelosal was talking about this just a couple of weeks ago. CIG has told us that even ships will be impacted with oxygen. How many people you have on your ship? If you have too many people on your ship, you'll strain the life support system on a ship. People may start passing out from carbon monoxide or dioxide, whatever it is. Dioxide.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, it would be funny. So you guys give me some thoughts about what you think about as far as crewing goes. Do you think people have the right numbers in their head? What do you think about it?
I know who I don't need on my ship are people who are asking me how to turn on the ship and things like that.
The people that hit the power switch on you from some other station and make you crash.
Those are the people I don't got time for. If you don't know what a power on button is, if you ask me for where's that button, you need to get off the seat. You need to get out of the seat and just sit down because I don't need you in at all. These are specialized positions. You're going to need people who really love. There are people who love to pilot. There are people who love to navigate. There are people who love to scan. So those people should be the ones that you definitely are showing an interest for. But don't get on Colossal ship and talk about, okay, what? Okay, you want me to sit here? All right, where's the scanner button? Where's this? I'm going to say, get out. Just that simple. Get out.
All right. Anybody else got some ideas about these positions? How you're going to man your ships?
So
Pardon
if
the
you're talking about
expression?
personally, I want to be pilot/engineer. I feel like that'd be super fun to kind of have both of those things, because I feel like number one, it helps you when you're doing stuff solo. But number two, I don't know. I feel like engineering gameplay could get tedious, and I've got like a weird brain that's all for that. Like I'm totally cool with just being the person that's like making sure all the stuff is connected, making sure that you have everything that you need on there, and I want to get good at like just fixing a ship up if needed.
We've talked about a game that a lot of us are familiar with in the past, Star Wars Galaxies. And we talked about that there were people who were more than happy to take on non-conventional positions. And some of this stuff that's here, in some ways, is not necessarily the typical stuff that's in a space game. You know, so far we've been used to people who are piloting, people who are in a turret, you know, in some cases, people who may be handling missile launches. But, you know, are any of you guys already implementing things like security? Do you have people who actually say, hey, I'll watch the ship while you guys are gone? Do you have anybody who does say, I'll be your medic when we go down in this bunker? Are those things that you guys are doing already, or are you waiting for that to develop a little bit more?
That's something that
Still waiting.
Okay.
I mean,
That's something
SpaceTomato,
that I do.
kind of. You have a whole org that's doing it. I mean,
Yeah,
literally,
no,
I've done. Like I was in a mining event like maybe back in 2021 or something like that, or 2022, where we had people who were mining. I was one of the people in a mole, and like literally they just hired out people from the security wing to just run security, and I think that's super cool that you have that set up.
Yeah, on the org side of things, it's definitely more doable. As personally though, just running, like just playing the game, I rarely pay attention to it. I do think it's going to be really important though, and I think it'll be more interesting when we can assign roles, like they've been talking about.
Okay, Meg, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's something that I've dabbled in. When we have like more people, like that's when the roles are kind of like figured out. I know whenever my fiance plays, she's usually the medic, so she's doubled up on med guns on her hip.
Mm-hmm.
And she carries all of that gear. So we don't do anything more than that, except for like obviously if somebody's piloting, they're piloting, and then we usually just like whatever role needs to be filled, like turrets and stuff like that. But when it comes down to like engineer, security, we usually like the only security we really do is making sure we close the doors to our ship. But I mean, even now, like the vultures going around, probably need to be more careful because there's like more you need to worry about.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like especially security, like maybe you shouldn't just leave your ship outside because someone might target it for some quick salvage.
Yeah.
Just because they want to test things out.
One of the things,
or if that's their game loop.
One of the things I was going to say, Meg, for those of us who've played Elite Dangerous, there's an actual very cool feature in Elite Dangerous. When you land your ship and you get out, you can actually hit a button that makes your ship take off and go into orbit while you're down on the planet.
Ooh.
Wow.
And then when you want it, you can recall it and it will fly back down to where you are and you can get on it. Now, we don't have that feature. I'm not suggesting that feature. What I am suggesting, though, is that why not, when you have a big party, have somebody who drops you guys down and takes off with the ship? The risk of losing that ship with items on it, stuff you've been collecting, is so much greater sitting on the ground and giving away to people that you're down there. You could always leave somebody else who's standing at the top of the elevator so that if somebody else is flying in, they can warn the people downstairs, we got inbound. I mean, there are all types of things that we can do now, even though certain mechanics may not be built in, to give other players something to do in the game. Because Kelosal was saying this earlier, I'm not trying to be funny either. Have you ever sat inside an A2 or a C2 and you go to the ordnance panel or the bombing? The buttons are in different places on every ship. And how do you set the proficiency for people who can act and being fair to them too, because they've got to learn, don't get me wrong, but at the same time you do want your people to kind of know, how do I turn the turret off, or slow it down, or the sensitivities. A lot of folks, they just get in and just go for it, which is okay too, I guess, but it's something to think about.
There are these are all great points. There are groups. I've been in, I'm currently with Test and fantastic group, but there are other orgs that I've also been in too, where they go ahead and they've literally set up a spreadsheet, almost like a Google Doc, and they will have their own specific specialties, and they will tell people choose 2, and which ones do you see yourself in. So that way, when they start getting their groups together, they know who to go ahead and specialize with certain areas and certain teams, because you've chosen to be a co-pilot and a navigator, or a scanner and a bombardier, or things like that. So they already know right off the bat who's going to be where and who's going to be what, and those people are going to be committed to that. So you're usually going to have those people, train or learn those crafts, and you won't have to worry about that. So that's just one advice to orgs, including orgs like Test, is to come up with a list, and then when CIG brings out their official list, then you can tweak it, but come up with some type of things. You can do that right now if you're going to be doing groups, to come up with a list of things, and then start working on those things with ops or some type of missions. As far as individually, I would love for that feature, Griff, that Elite Dangerous has, for us to have, if you're flying ships like a Gladius or like a Hornet or things like that, those one-person pilot ships where you don't want to leave your ship out. I do have a Carrick, and I try to play that role with the Carrick all the time. I try to have at least a Pisces in the back, and I'd rather keep the Carrick in orbit and have everybody jump into Pisces and go while there's certain people on the ship, including me. I'm on the bridge pretty much most of the time, and then have people come back. That's the role play. I don't like to just land the Carrick. Why am I doing that? We can put a Pisces back there, put a special ops teams on it, leave the Carrick in orbit, and have a special ops teams up in that Pisces and come back.
Yeah.
That's what
the only issue with that is the gameplay isn't super supported at the moment, just because if you go too far away from your carrier ship, that thing is just gone. If you're playing by yourself, right? You can't. It's kind of hard to do that. But I'm just talking about.
He said when he has people with him. He said when he has people with him, he'll do it. Yeah.
Or you get a box from a box mission, and that's your fake person if you're playing by yourself. Then it'll stay there.
I have a couple dead bodies you can borrow.
You're gonna make me borrow my own dead body?
Yes.
Borrow my dead body? I have to give that myself back to you? All right.
Gonna help you create it too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. One last thing. I'm going to use the ship since Kelosal keeps bringing up the Carrick. I'm going to talk about the Carrick.
Here one bit.
Yeah, we've got the captain's chair. We've got a chair, and there's 3 chairs, right? There's a possible chair for a co-pilot or a navigator or somebody who handles ordnance, something like that. Who's that? Citizen Shenanigans. Thank you for the prime. Thank you. But then we've got the 2 stations behind them. One of them on the right is a turret operator, but on the left, on Thursday, they showed us that maybe it was an engineering station. Now, CIG has told us that they're going to make stations, the MFDs, assignable. So it doesn't mean that it necessarily is dedicated to that, but maybe it will be. We don't know. But there's a station there. There's an engineering station on the 2nd level down in engineering, where things would be handled from there. There are panels at the storage bin areas in there. Don't get me wrong, it's not you have to have someone dedicated to each of these positions, but CIG did give us some hints, particularly with this thing of engineering, where they talked about, here are 3 ways you could look at engineering. You've got the master person, the person who's in charge, you've got the tuner, and you've got the mechanic. Obviously that's scaled, right? When you get to bigger ships, you may need 3 people. On a smaller ship, you just may need 1. Do you think when you do this for you, when you go out, I'm going to assume that you're the captain. Let me make that assumption. If you are the captain, will you feel like you need to fill every position, or do you feel like you'll be the type of person that says, if I don't have everybody, I'm willing to risk it? How do you feel? Because some people will have a hard thing of saying, if I don't have at least 5 people, I'm not taking this ship out. Like I've heard people say, oh, I'm going to take a reclaimer out with 3 people. I'm like, yeah, okay, feel free, have at it. You're going to be out there all day trying to salvage, right? To me, you need a minimum of 5 people on it, the way it is right now. So how do you guys feel about that as being the captain on your ship? Are you going to try to crew at a certain level, or is this going to be a matter of let's just go out and see what happens even if we got 3 people on the ship?
I think it really
if
just
you-
depends on the size. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
Meg, you go
No,
ahead.
yeah, that's all I was gonna say. Really, I just think it depends on the size because I mean, there's plenty of ships you can run solo that would be better with 2 or more people. I mean, the quickest one I can think of like right now because I've been using it is the Vulture. Like you can definitely use it alone, but it would be way more efficient with 2 people. The MSR you can probably get away with just 2. But I mean that is kind of risking it. It's not really meant to be like a fighter. And these are I'm just naming the ships that I use.
Right.
I'm down to use it solo because again, like I'm not trying to really fight. I'm really just trying to use it as like a bigger ship to hold things. But in the future, I would love to be able to like maximize how many like all the roles on my ship. But yeah, I'm definitely one to risk things. But I'm not gonna go out in a Carrack alone.
Okay.
I think.
Tomato.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, what I hope is the case is like right now we just are so flippant with our ships. We're constantly claiming them, blowing them up, leaving them wherever we want. Like I will literally take a brand new ship, fly it out into the orbit of a moon, and then ditch it to go with my friend's ship. Like I want to care about ships, you know. I want our ships to feel so unique, so tuned and customized and used with wear and tear and all of that in a way that like my ship has been around for 3 weeks and I haven't done anything to damage it. Like I'm keeping it up and running, you know. I want to get to the point where you know your ship, you know how it runs, you know what your capabilities are, and you know exactly how many people you need to be able to get the most out of your ship because you can pick up the rest of it. So I don't know what my thing is going to be when it comes to that, when it comes to crew, but I really do hope that it's at a point where I'm like, okay, I need at least 3 people to run this ship. If I have 2, I can do this for a couple hours, but I really should probably find somebody else to hire for that. Like I want it to be a process of figuring out how to run my ship for that day if I'm doing something, you know, special or serious.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Tomato. I feel like it will be kind of a maybe even a mission based thing. So again, going back to the logistics officer or quartermaster or whatever, or even just you being the captain, knowing what you're going to be doing. If it's just like, we're going on a in-system run to move a couple boxes, me and someone else is enough to do this, or even me by myself is enough to do this. But if it's like, we're going to Pyro, we're going to look for this salvage that we heard that there's like a deposit of ore that no one actually picked up and it's going to be valuable, but there's also a lot of heat out there for it. So then you bring the crew. Yeah, I think that mission-based logistics makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. All right. Well, we have some questions. In fact, we have quite a few questions from folks. So we're going to... Did we freeze?
Uh-oh.
I thought we froze for a minute. We did freeze for a second there. Okay, there we go.
Uh-oh.
All right. One of the questions we have here is from Shimpasta. How will preparation change once planets rotate around he says the sun, but I guess the star? How will your preparation change? Do you think preparing things will become different if orbital rotations and things come in? I guess that's what he's asking, or what they're asking.
Yeah, I mean, with orbits, everything would change. Because, like, you wouldn't even have stable expectations for trade routes.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be insane. You'd have, like, moments when certain planets are closer to jump points, vastly changing the way that you have to travel. Imagine the trip in Pyro. So I think you have to go through Pyro to get to, is it Odin or Nyx?
Yeah.
You have to go through Pyro to get to Nyx. So like imagine if you needed to do a jump from a planet in Pyro to or like from Nyx to a planet to Pyro to a jump point out to Stanton. And like the planet got into a point where it was like the perfect
Furthest away.
waypoint between those two jumps. That completely changes if you want to do that or not. Same goes for things like I mean, quantum traveling would be different, and yeah, orbits would change everything.
Yeah. And another factor too, when we talked about crew, being able to find pilots who are capable. A lot of times we haven't even gotten to this aspect of how do we navigate a wormhole, right? We haven't even gotten into that yet. So it may be great to sound like you want to be a pilot. I know for me, when I fly my bigger ships, there's certain techniques I do when I fly a big ship. As soon as I come out of quantum, I lock onto some other location somewhere right away, just immediately. Because one, I don't want to deal with spooling times. And secondly, if I get attacked, I'm not going to try and fight in this big whatever I'm in. I'm trying to get away. But if you've got somebody who's got a big ego who says, yeah, I'm in an 890, but we're going to have this battle right here. And I'm not going to do that. What were you going to say, Abdi?
Well, I was just saying with the orbits, kind of like what exactly Citizen Shenanigans is saying is that orbital mechanics might, either save you
or more angry.
If you do it right, you could save fuel, but then you have to consider all sorts of different things. But yeah, I'm sorry, I did.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good point.
One little bit of help on that. Jump on Kerbal, folks. It'll help you out.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
All right. Pops in Space asks, we have a fuel delivery system in game with the Starfare. Should we have a convenience store vehicle or a module to set up on the Endeavor as like a fast food drive-through or restaurant to help with personal inventory? Would this add to gameplay or break it?
Add to it. We already know Buster's going to do it.
Yeah, they've been trying to get that. What's the noodles thing?
Wants to do that.
Yeah, they've been talking about the Big Benny's delivery vehicle for the longest time, right? Yeah.
And Buster's been on top of that left, right, and sideways. I mean, so yeah. Paul Shelley's been on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Pops. I don't think it will. I think there will be people who will be innovative. I remember when I was watching Verity's, it was her first 890 jump party that she had, and Sigelian came on the ship. And he literally brought a 1 SCU box full of nothing but food. And he walked around and fed everybody on the ship, right? I mean, he just did something that simple. Yeah, it was. Yep. And so, I mean, there will be people who they'll make their freaking freelancer their food truck. And they may go out there and fly around and sell stuff to people. I don't know. Trade can be done in a million different ways. And I don't think it's game breaking. I think it'll be just what innovations game players come up with in relation to something like that. Next question. What is everyone's thoughts about the incoming incendiary ammo? I have not heard enough about it.
Yeah, I feel like we've mostly seen the Volt stuff. So that's like the... I don't know, like if it's like light, like electricity.
Yeah, that's electricity.
Or
the
stun.
Volt stuff. Yeah, that's
so we've seen a lot about that, but we haven't seen a lot about any of the other types.
Have you guys seen anything? Tomato, you seen anything on incendiary armor recently? I know they talked about it, but I don't remember.
Armor or ammo?
Ammo, rather. Ammo. I'm sorry, ammo.
I've only heard about it in the context of armor, so I don't think we're going to see it until they start talking more about armor and how that might react. But maybe incendiary ammo will come up. Yeah. I haven't seen anything on it though. No.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about multiple types of armor since back when the Tonk came out. That was when I really heard them listing all these different types of ammo that could be used. But I haven't heard anything recently. I'm sorry, Bretley, couldn't give you more on that one. Chooch asks, components will eventually come to the RSI store, or I guess he's asking a question. What he says is components will eventually come to the RSI store or microtransactions. Components are dropped down in item hanger in the RSI accounts on the website. The Havoc scattergun comes with the F8C Lightning. Will
you be able to buy these things?
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
You can get them kind of now. Like there's referral bonus things like weapons and stuff that you can get as components.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they'll ever sell it though.
So they did at one point. I mean, I don't know about components. They did weapons. Because I know I bought Rattlers, and then they went ahead and took it back.
Yeah, some stuff you get from referrals, right?
Right. And some stuff I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, wasn't some stuff Colossal back in the day when Rec was around? You used to be able to rent stuff back then, right?
You can rent. You still can do that now.
But that's only in Arena Commander, right? But that's only in Arena Commander. But before you could take it out, yeah.
But there was at one point. There was at one point where you could actually pay,
right,
using microtransactions, pay for missiles
Right.
I don't, and then when they revamped the whole entire website, they took all that away,
Right.
And gave you like a refund for it in either Rex or something like that. So I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that's their intent to go ahead and do that with components. I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't do that with components.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean that's cheating. That's cheating. So I mean, earn it in game. So
Yeah.
that's just my
Left to
opinion.
say, yeah, way back in the day, it was UEC where you could buy this stuff and permanently buy it for you. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And last but not least, Fast Cart. Did everyone get enough sleep last night with daylight savings time? Tomato, did you get hit with that over there or no?
No, we
No,
don't.
you don't get hit with that, right? Oh,
don't
God,
do
you're
that,
lucky. Yeah. All right. He's just up at the crack of dawn. What time is it there right now, Tomato?
5:15.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus.
Oh, wow.
I'm so sorry.
All right. Yeah. We're torturing
That's
him.
what time I usually get up. I mean, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Well, he's
Yeah,
been
the time
up.
difference
Yeah.
is rough.
Yeah. He's
So I
been up.
have a 18-month-old. She doesn't know what daylight savings is. So
Yeah, of course not, right?
That doesn't really affect anything. And she just goes to bed later now, and we have less time to stay up.
That's it. That's it.
Lean
That's
forward
it.
and fall back.
Love it.
Well, we have hit the end of everything here. Let's see. I'm looking at what Fast Cart's giving me here. Okay. Yeah, we've hit everything tonight. We've covered a lot of ground, and hopefully you guys enjoyed what you saw, what you heard. We actually have been watching chat. You guys have had so much great dialogue going on in chat tonight. But thank you guys for all the comments and stuff and the follows and likes and all that other good stuff. We want to remind you that we do have Soul Citizens merchandise from time to time if you guys are interested. We have a wide variety of items out there, from keychains to water bottles to shot glasses to hats, shirts, all that good stuff. So we appreciate you guys who have supported us with all the merch that we do. Let's jump into what we got coming up. We have on next week, Abdi, could you talk about Thursday for me? Klaus will talk about voices, and I'll talk about next week's show.
Yeah, so Thursday is the official Fast Cart stand-up night at for we got a subscription or something at that time.
Yes,
too.
right
That's
at that time. Yeah.
right at that time. No, so Thursday is our Soul Talk episode. It's where the community gets a voice. So all of you look for the Discord link. Hey, thank you so much, Lutine. Yeah, so that show is a community show. We talk about the news of the week from Star Citizen, everything from monthly reports to ISCs, things that have come out throughout the week. Join our Discord, and you can actually be on the show. Everyone who joins the Discord, who hops into voice chat, basically Fastcart MCs that one, and we go through it, we talk about it, everyone gets a voice, and it's a good time. So join us for that at 9 p.m. ET.
Mm-hmm.
And on Saturday, we have what we call Soul Voices. We usually bring things that the community also comes in and can chat with us. We do also take out things possibly from Reddit, depending on how salty it is or how much of a good conversation they may bring up that we bring in from Reddit as well. There's some type of variety sometimes that we bring in dealing with the player haters and the player haters clubs and things like that. So it's a good time to have that conversation. That's 3:00 p.m. Eastern, 2:00 p.m. Central. So come on board. It's usually a tribe podcast with that. Soul Citizen starts it off, and then it goes to Paul Shelley, and then it goes to Relay. So, come in and join us on Saturdays at 3:00 Eastern, 2:00 Central.
Mm-hmm, thank you. And next Sunday, we're going to be on a show called Let's Get Kraken. We're going to be talking about the Kraken and the Privateer, and our special guest next week is going to be Star Jump Grim. Many of you guys know the Kraken is his ideal ship, and he's going to be here sharing some great information about the Kraken and Privateer. Those of you guys who own those, we'd love to have you tune in on it. And if you're interested in the Kraken or the Privateer, we are going to be going deep into a very large ship next Sunday. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you guys can tune in for us next week at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Special shout outs to SpaceTomato, who's here tonight. SpaceTomato, thank you again for enduring the late hours to hang out with us. We're always happy to have you. Tell some folks where they can find you, where they can look for you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a good time to come through here, and I wanted to make sure to get at least one show in the first quarter. It's a bummer that like the time difference when I'm in Turkey doesn't match up very well. But we'll be spending more time in the US in the next few years, so
Cool.
that should clear up. But if you want to find my stuff, I do Star Citizen content, videos upon videos with streams, podcasts. We got an org, a community, as Abdi mentioned. We do weekly stuff. So any of that stuff, if you want to join us or ever get a chance to just come and talk, SpaceTomatoGaming.com is my website, but you could just search SpaceTomato on YouTube. That'll bring me up, and on Twitch.
Awesome. And he has so many great shows, guys. By the way, I haven't told you this. I am so glad. I don't know what you did and you and the wife did, but you turned it up. I remember a year ago, or a little over a year ago, you were deliberating about what direction to go, and you turned it up, and it seems like it was the best decision in the world. So many people are tuning in into your content and enjoying your content. So
it's been going well.
Definitely
Thank
keep
you.
up with it, man. So congratulations on that. We're glad you didn't go the other direction. Glad you're still sticking around with us.
It's been a
Watch the
journey.
show.
Yeah,
Great show.
Great show.
Mm,
By the way,
you.
before I give everybody else to get their plugs in, I forgot to mention this last week during our anniversary show. If you are interested in getting into Star Citizen, you'll see our referral codes. We have the referral codes for all of our hosts down below. Just you can pick somebody randomly or pick somebody who looks cute like Abdi. If whoever you want to pick, or to use the referral code if you decide to sign up for Star Citizen, check it out.
I think I'm 2 away from
Please.
a PTV.
Yeah. Jerry Symington, thank you so much for that follow. Thank you. I saw your joke, yoyoMeg. Meg said, when will Fast Card stop making bad jokes? Well, that's a never ending thing. But yeah, check out those referral codes when you guys get time. Meg, why don't you tell people where people can follow you or find you?
There's a movie named
Yes.
Fast Car. It's called Never Ending Story.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitch at yoyoMeg. Otherwise, I am yoyoMeg on anything else. But yeah, I mostly stream on Twitch, and that's where you can find me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mostly stream on Twitch.
Where do you stream?
On Twitch.
Okay.
Do you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch as well. AbdiYohan. I'm AbdiYohan everywhere, so you can find me there on Twitter as well. And I think I'll probably be streaming later tonight. I think I'm going to be doing some illustration work just because Star Citizen is a little buggy at the moment, so I need to work on some. So I'm an illustrator, so you'll see me do illustration content from time to time, but it's illustration or Star Citizen or both sometimes. So at the same time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Kelosal, where can people find you?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank SpaceTomato. It's good to see you, brother. Definitely good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Guys, go ahead and jump on yoyoMeg's content. Phenomenal. Love watching her. AbdiYohan, definitely go watch them, guys. We got some good streamers here, and it's so blessed to be with Soul Citizens because these people are fantastic. So please go ahead and support their content. Me, can't be supporting me. I'm a teacher. I got to support the kids. So that's pretty much what I am. I'm just on vacation right now. So
we need a colossal like PayPal link or something, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking about
support
it.
those teachers. Support the
That's
teachers.
right.
Yeah,
Support
seriously,
teachers.
thank you for what you do.
I appreciate it. But yeah, whenever there's a time that I can go ahead and get on break and, not only dealing with teacher, but I'm also involved with the community. So I'm very, very busy. But whenever I have time, I always hit Griff up and say, hey, Griff, put me on. I can go ahead and go. So it's always a privilege, and I appreciate you guys. But you'll find me here with Soul Citizens. If not, you'll find me in the verse with Test Squadron. So just hit me up. I'm there.
Awesome.
If you buy one mug from the Soul Citizens website, buy Colossals, flying to Drake, die to Drake.
Fly to Drake, die to Drake. Look forward to that conversation next week.
True.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much once again for being here with us. We are going to set up a raid to raid an old friend who we normally don't see on Sunday night, but because 318 is out, I'm sure that's why they're there. DJ Knight. We're going to send you guys over there with DJ. So when you get to DJ Knight, make sure you give him a shout. Let him know that you came from the Soul Citizens. If you like what you see, of course, follow him. But in the meantime, hopefully we'll see you guys this week on our Thursday show and definitely next Sunday, 8 p.m. for Let's Get Cracking. So until then, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and as always, peace, love, and soul. See you guys soon. Take care.
Who knows?